I don't believe trade is the main driver of that, but I'll grant that it does happen sometimes.
Who cares about bringing in money? Okay, the whole idea of running like a business.
I don't really think it's something that you should take. No,
the argument against charging people rent?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, typically the philosophical argument against
that's a legitimate criticism, because, I mean, you look at why USA was even invented.
So, I don't know. Like, I think a recurring theme or a recurring trend is that
less and less government. I want personal responsibility. I want personal accountability.
say that I'm like left of liberal. I don't identify like a communist or any of this stuff. Probably like a why would that be revelatory to know that water boils down?
About people who are diplomats or ambassadors from other.
Did I say that? Did I say that it was theoretically possible to include like it increase?
Natural society is a society where it's survival of.
You can. What you're describing is you can't do. First of all, not what I'm talking about. Second of all, we can't.
So basically, like, even your Lord and Savior Donald Trump didn't do the best job.
That nature, you refer to it as being conscious, or the conscious community.
So I think that gay marriage at the Constitution and the Supreme Court level actually...
No, but my man just is in the building.
And I find it very interesting that fellow believers are...
Well, there are examples, but these are minor examples compared to the ones that I'm giving. I'm talking about two. It's unconstitutional, they shouldn't do it. But now they're arguing about, well, if they do it,
This video is a little blonde hair. Yeah, that's what your mom said last night, too.
Let's ignore USAID. That's obviously upsetting you, and I get that. Because
no, it's not upsetting me.
There's a reason I'm successful. There's a reason why I'm liked.
This is exactly why Democrats.
Holy king caboodles, technology and people do not mix. But whatever, we made it. We're here. Gibbs is chilling. I'm chilling. We're all chilling. Everybody scream for ice cream. Admiral Gibbs is coming on today to the Raging Tomato to bring forth the claim that National Socialists are socialist and the DSA is just their newest rebrand. He's ready for a throwdown. I have a feeling he's going to be throwing all of the leftists under the bus today. So if you are a leftist, if you know a leftist, you should probably go find them and bring them here right now, because they're going to want to jump on this open panel and come at Gibbs because y'all are being thrown under the bus. Gibbs, tell me, first off, tell them where they can all find you and what you got going on.
That's right, folks. My name is Admiral Gibbs. And you can find me everywhere as Admiral Gibbs. And that's what all you need to know to find me. You search me and you'll find me. It's very simple. First of all, she's absolutely right. So we're going to start off by getting all leftists real riled up. And I got to be honest, this recent DSA thing has inspired me. But really, the liberals are the ones who've inspired me this time. And I know some people amongst the conservative crowd here wants to say I'm a liberal sympathizer. But you know what? Yeah, who words for you? You're wrong. But I will say that a broken clock strikes twice a day, and they're correct twice a day, right? So here's the deal with that. Destiny, everybody's favorite liberal, is the one has been on a crusade. He's been leading them in this charge against the leftists. And I got to say, yeah, I'm so happy you and Witt and all the other libs have figured out that you let the coyote in the hen house. However, I have some doubts that they're going to be able to do it, because one thing socialists are good at is killing the party they rode in on. That's what they did in Nazi Germany, and that's what they're doing now. You know, I can only hope that the libs realize that the new liberal world order that arose after 1945 has been destroyed. And now we're going to talk about why that is and what happened that has caused that. And we're going to talk about maybe the thing that led to the liberal world order in the first place, the rise of the Nazis. And I can't wait to show that the Nazis never left. They just rebranded. So I'm excited.
All right. Holy cow. I love you, Gibbs. You're always a wild card. Always a wild card. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are interested in coming on to combat Gibbs, buckle up, sit back. We'll be opening up the panel in about an hour, maybe less. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and let Gibbs. I believe you came ready with PowerPoint, correct?
I did.
Is this death by PowerPoint? We're doing death by PowerPoint today?
Yeah, it is going to be death by PowerPoint. That's okay. Let me just do something here. Yeah, we're going to be death by PowerPoint for Sure, for sure. It's going to be amazing. I'm really excited to do it. Now I just got to find our screen here. There we go. And we're going to do this. And we're going to do this. All right. And then let me share the PowerPoint. Right after I find the button. We're off to a really good start here. Every time we switch screens, something changes. All right. There we go. Share screen. There we go. National. Boom. Allow. And then we're going to press F5. All right. Can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes, we have your lovely, amazing PowerPoint, sir.
All right. So the title said PowerPoint and the presentation today. National Socialists are socialists, and the DSA is just the modern version. Also, guys, remember, Sonic, always half price of the app. All right, folks. Anyway, so moving on here. National Socialism social. It seems like it'd be a no-brainer. But, you know, the revisionist history has come since then. And I want to point out another thing. I'm going to say something kind of crazy. 1940s fascism and 30s fascism is inherently much more left-wing than what we think of when we think of fascism today. We can look at those policies. That's a different conversation for a different time. But we're going to focus on National Socialism today. All right, National Socialism arose from the attempts to create a national alternative to Marxist socialism and free market capitalism. Nazism rejected Marxist concepts of class conflict and universal equality, opposed cosmopolitan internationalism, and sought to convince the social class in German society to subordinate their interests in the common good. Why is this important? We're going to find out. A lot of these lefties are going to say crazy things like, oh, they killed the socialists. Oh, they killed the Marxists. But we're going to talk about some of these socialists they killed. One of the first ones being Nazi ideologue George Strasser. George Strasser proclaimed, we are socialists. We are enemies, deadly enemies of today's capitalist economic system with its exploitation of the economically weak, its unfair wage system, its immoral way of judging the worth of human beings in terms of their wealth and their money instead of the responsibility and their performance. We are determined to destroy the system whatever happens. All right, well, this is important because I just said they killed this guy. Yep. Well, you know why they killed this guy? Because, and I quote Joseph Goebbels' diary, he wasn't socialist enough. He was part of the bourgeoisie, the bourgeois class. He was the uppity capitalist in disguise. So the socialist is saying the other socialist is not socialist enough. Wow, you know where that sounds familiar? I don't know if we know anything about the USSR, but what happened when Lenin and Stalin took power? What happened to Trotsky and all these others? They got killed. So the idea that the left is, somehow immune to this and, that because they killed socialists makes them not socialist is utter hogwash. All right. So National Socialism is the determination to create a new man. There will no longer exist any individual arbitrary will, nor realms in which the individual belongs to himself. The time of happiness as a private matter is over. Adolf Hitler, Chapter 11, Nation and Race, Mein Kampf. Now, one thing about socialism that's important to remember is that they want to control all aspects of your life. Here's Hitler saying that exact same thing. You will no longer even be able to be happy by yourself. Sarah, does that sound like something you want? Do you want to be able to be happy on your own time?
Probably, yeah.
All right.
It's reasonable.
Okay. Now we're going to go to a video, and I'm not going to play it. Sarah's going to play it.
I'm going to play it. This is where our tech issues were coming in. I got you, though.
Good.
We figured it out. Let me remove yours, put mine up. Okay. Yep. And here we go.
The left took fascism from the left-wing column and moved it into the right-wing column. The original fascism was a phenomenon of the political left. It was explicitly socialist, hence the name Nazi. And this wasn't just Hitler using the term. The Nazis have a platform. It's state control of the banks, education, industry, the media. It's the left-wing agenda. So the Nazis, the fascists, they saw themselves as on the left. Everybody recognized that this was a phenomenon of the left. However, after World War II, people saw the starving, emaciated figures coming out of the concentration camps. The progressive intellectuals who dominated American academia realized that their own views were suspiciously close to those of Mussolini and not all that far from those of Hitler. They realized we have to redefine fascism and Nazism to remove our association with it. Now you have the utterly bizarre phenomenon where somebody can go up to Benjamin Netanyahu and call him a Nazi.
There you go. Yahtzee. Okay. Are you muted? Did you mute?
I did mute. I apologize. Let me pull this back up here. Sorry, guys. That should be the only time we have to do that, and then we will have no more tech issues. I know how much y'all love the tech issues. All right, let me just do this.
They love to make fun of our tech issues.
Yeah, that's fine. You know, I want y'all to know, as streamers and all of y'all trying to be aspiring pro streamers, if you're using StreamYard, go ahead and just quit. Guys, nobody should use StreamYard. It's bad for business. But I digress because Sarah loves it. And it, whatever, you know, boomers and shit.
It works just fine for me and everything that I need.
But you hang out with all the boomers. I hang out with the new meta. That's all I'm saying. All right. You know what I'm saying? Okay, guys, here we go. Okay, that's not. Wait. Why is it not moving? Oh, there we go. That works. Okay, perfect. Racism is the next big argument that the lefties like to use, saying, "Oh, Lordy, give it. They are not socialists. They are." Just...
Are you moving through?
Huh?
Your screen is still on the whole PowerPoint, not the
whole PowerPoint.
Yeah, we're not seeing the presentation mode.
Oh my God, I hate this app so fucking much.
Maybe it's just you, Gibbs.
No, I mean I do these all the time, and I've never had a problem. It's just the thing. How about now here? Share screen. Whatever. We're just gonna go with this fucking screen. I don't care. It's fine. We're gonna use this screen. All right.
Didn't you press something like F5 or something earlier that changed it?
Yeah, I tried to do that, and now we've got other problems. Here we go. F5. Is that working? Can you see it now?
Yep.
All right. How about, did it change?
Yep, there we go.
All right, so we're going to tackle their next gripe, racism. How, oh, Lordy. Leftists can't be racist, and National Socialism's got to be a right-wing ideology, because only the far right is racist. Well, let's talk about Karl Marx. He's the one who really made socialism and communism have its day. Well, I'm going to take a direct quote from him. And remember, this is not we all disavow these views as conservatives. But, you know, our progressive and our liberals might say that Karl Marx might have some good ideas. So just remember that going forward. Many really believe that bigotry is a disqualification for earning the socialist imprimatur when Stalin was planning a program for the Jews in the final years of his rule. And Karl Marx himself was racist. In an 1892 letter to Frederick Engels concerning a political rival, the father of socialism wrote, and I quote, "It is now completely clear to me that he, as is proved by his cranial formation and his hair, descends from the Negroes of Egypt, assuming that his mother or grandmother had not inbred with a inward." That's crazy. That's crazy. That's Marx. Hey, father of socialism. All right, let's just go to National Socialism and see if Hitler agrees. National Socialism is the determination to create a new man. There will no longer exist any individual arbitrary will nor realms which the individual belongs to self. The line habits, private matters. If that has something to do with the other one, we split the nation and race, right? Oh, yeah, here we go. Socialism is the final concept of the ethical duty of work, not just for oneself, but also fellow man's sake, and above all, the principle, common good before own good. A struggle is all parasitism, especially an easy and unearned. When he's talking about parasitism, it's not just some random parasitism. If you go read through his other works for the record, he's talking about a very specific sort of parasitism. It's the bourgeois Jew capitalist. Wow, man, I don't know where I've heard that before, except for maybe recently coming from the left about the Israelis. Crazy work. And we're aware that in this light, we can rely on no one but our own people. We're convinced that socialism in the right sense that we will only be possible in nations and races that are Aryan. And they're the first place we hope for. They're in the first place we hope for our own people and are convinced that socialism is inseparable from nationalism. That's important as well. We're going to be going further into that because a lot of arguments from the left are going to say that nationalism is a defining part of this and it can't be separated and thus makes it right-wing. Do you think that, Sarah? Do you think nationalism is inherently right-wing?
Nationalism, like the idea of nationalism, not socialist nationalism?
No, just nationalism in general.
Just national. Yeah, I would take that as like a right-wing ideology.
That's too damn bad because you'd be wrong. Wrong again. Racism doesn't. We're gonna get to it. I hope that we can get to it. I pray that this PowerPoint will work and we can get to it. Right. Racism doesn't mean nationalism, socialism, right wing. We're gonna go in here. List of racist, left-wing, socialist nation. Okay. The Ba'ath Party. Y'all know what this is? The Ba'ath. You might have heard of it. George Bush led a fucking coalition against it, and we destroyed it. You know who else led coalitions against it? Obama and Clinton's. Guess what? You know who the Ba'aths were? That was Libya, that was Syria, and that was Iraq with Gaddafi, Assad, and Saddam Hussein. Now, they are Arab socialists, National Socialists, which are very proud. And you know what they also hated?
What?
The Jews! Crazy work! Wow, it's amazing how these socialist countries can also be extremely racist towards the Jews. Whatever. Oh, have you heard of Iran as a country?
Mm-hmm.
Well, before the Shah, which has been in the news a lot lately because the Shah's son wants to be maybe put back in power. We'll see about that. There was a group called the Iranian National Socialist Party. Or Sakma. I'm just kidding. Sumka or some shit. Created in 1952. You know what their big stances were? And I have them listed. They're pro-Hitler. Basically, Hitler did nothing wrong. They're anti-Arab. And what they mean by Arab is any Arab that's not, a socialist Muslim. And they were anti-Turk. Crazy word. Oh, well, there's North Korea. Man, they're pretty right. They're pretty right-wing, right? No, their fucking government style is called Juche, and it's a left-wing socialism based in Leninism and Stalinism, and has many, many race-based components. I don't know, the Koreans being the master race. Crazy way. Well, let's just talk. What's another point that the left has about socialist, National Socialists not being socialist, right? Is authoritarianism. Oh, well, I'm just going to point out.
I thought authoritarianism was what the lefties say the righties are trying to do.
Well, that's crazy work because what we call this is revisionist history. This is why they keep saying socialism and communism, true communism, hasn't been tried. However, I would argue that they're fucking idiots. It's very simple. We can look at all four of these men, famous communist leaders. Now, I admit these aren't any socialists. We can look at, if you want, we can put Kim Jong-un up there and it'll be just as fucking good. But let's just start with Stalin. Would y'all say Stalin was an authoritarian?
Stalin? Yeah.
Okay. How about Mao?
Yeah. That they're literally an authoritarian and
How about Pol Pot?
I don't know who he is, but
he is the dictator of Cambodia.
Oh, well, you just said dictator. That's all I need to know.
Yeah. Well, he's also got a kill count that beats out Hitler. So important to note that. And
oh my God, really?
Yeah, crazy work. Also,
that's a lot to top.
Yeah, well, man, it's not he was saying because the gays were getting killed too. Then we have the Castro here. That was a good one. Castro, we all know him. What was Castro made famous for? Oh, he got charged by shooting political dissidents for Che Guevara. Oh, another left-wing authoritarian leader. Crazy work. So I don't know if we're sensing a theme here, but the left-wing socialists and communists can't be in power without being authoritarian. And we're going to get to that further on in this, but I just want to point out, so we've already dealt with two of their major arguments. The race-based stuff has got to be a right-wing. The father of their left-wing ideology, inherently racist, and Hitler matched up pretty on board with that. We're not even talking about any of his other leadership in the Nazi Party, but one for one. Authoritarianism is pretty much definitively, and like I said, we can put Kim Jong-un up here, and it would basically show the same thing. Authoritarianism isn't inherently right-wing, despite everybody's protests. All right? Let's talk about economic policy. If you previously watched any of my videos of Fabian Liberty covering this subject, We go in depth into the Nazi economic policy, right? And part of this, which is kind of scary, is if you go look at the DSA's current policy, which we'll do later, how much of this maps out onto a National Socialist economic policy. But let's just go through a few of these before the lefties come in here to bitch and moan about how they weren't actually socialist and they were actually hyper-capitalist. We're going to put all this to rest. This is from their 25-point plan, which they implemented. We demand the nationalization of all trusts. Does the nationalization of all trusts seem like it's pro-private property or not pro-private property, Sarah?
The nationalists would be not
nationalization of it. They basically intimate domains of a trust with all your money in it. Is that like pro-private property?
That's against private property.
Oh, okay, cool. Just
right?
That would be correct. Yeah. All right. So we demand profit sharing in large industries. Does that sound capitalist to you? Where they demand profit sharing from a large industry?
No, that's not capitalistic.
Okay. We demand a generous increase in old age pensions. Oh, I wonder who's paying for that. Who does that sound like something that a capitalist would want?
No.
Okay. We demand the creation and maintenance of a sound middle class. The immediate communalization. Oh, communalization.
Oh, that's a bad word.
That's definitely capitalist, right? Of large stores, which will be rented cheaply to small traders and people. And the strongest consideration must be given to ensure that small traders shall deliver the supplies needed by the state. Oh, by the state. The provinces and the 20 in order to make it possible for every capable and industrious German to obtain higher education. Oh, national education. Oh, that's kind of interesting. And thus the opportunity to reach into positions of leadership. The state's going to do this, must assume the responsibility of organizing through the entire cultural system of people. Oh, so they're going to ensure through the state, the cultural system accomplishes these economic policies. That's kind of interesting. That's capitalist, right? The curriculum of all educational establishments shall be adapted to practical life. The conception of the state idea, science, decision, must be taught in the schools from the very beginning. We demand that especially talented children of poor parents, whatever their station or occupation, be educated at the expense of the state. Does any of those policies sound capitalist to you? Right there?
This sounds like the state is just managing what needs to be done. Like they're just managing. There's no entrepreneurship. It is straight up like we're just gonna set forth the procedure, we're gonna manage it, all of the operations, and we want you to bring in your goods and then we'll sell them for you.
Oh, so not capitalist at all.
Because then the state controls what it's being sold at.
Right. And we're going to get into more of this. The state has the duty. Remember, the state, not the people, has the duty to help raise the standard of national health by providing maternity welfare centers, by providing juvenile labor. Oh, juveniles are working. By increasing physical fitness through the induction of compulsory games. You're going to be compelled to do this, guys. And by the greatest possible encouragement of associations concerned with physical education. Oh, so the state is compelling you to do this. That's very capitalist and not socialist at all. We demand that there be a legal campaign. So this is what they want to implement legally against those who propagate deliberate political lies and disseminate them through the press in order to make creation of a German press. We demand. Oh, so not only do they want total control of the press. Oh, wow, that's definitely not socialist or communist or authoritarian. Those aren't things that those countries do at all. Crazy. I can't see this. We demand freedom for all religious faiths in the state. Oh, okay, that sounds reasonable. Insofar as they do not endanger the existence or offend the moral and ethical sense of the German race. Oh, well, never mind. So we believe in all freedom of religion, except for the ones that we don't like. The party as such represents the point of view of a positive Christianity without binding itself to one any particular confession. Oh, so yeah, we like Christians, in name, right? But as long as none of them go against us, you're done. It fights against the Jewish material spirit within and without, and it is convinced that lasting recovery of our folk, which maybe you would use the word Volk, the people, can only come from within the principle common good before individual good. Ooh, so the common good, Sarah, is more important than individual good. Is that a slogan of capitalism?
No.
No, it's not. So, okay, let's move on. We have Nazi policies continued. Now, I just want to see how many of these that sound familiar. We'll rapid fire these. If the Nazis were for abortion, does that seem like a radical right-wing take?
No.
Okay. The Nazis believed that a strong socialist government controlled business through regulations. The Nazis used regulations to persecute Jewish businessmen. Regulations, that's something conservative capitalists, right? Like capitalists in general, like they like regulations, correct?
Well, we do have some we have industry regulations,
right,
but not outside of that.
Yeah, but would you agree that when they do that, many, such as myself, would argue that less regulation is better and the more regulations are socialist in nature? Would you agree with that statement?
I would agree with that statement. Regulation should only be in place for the safety of us, not for controlling everything else.
Okay. The Nazis also believed in government healthcare. Oh, okay. They're providing healthcare for the state. Is that normally a capitalist free society thing, or is that something that countries leaning towards socialism do?
That's a socialist thing.
Okay. Government ran. How about Nazis believe in government ran education, controlled by the state education? We right now, the Trump administration is attempting to get rid of the Department of Education. Do we see a parallel here between the two, or is there some kind of discrepancy? Oh.
I see. Yeah, government controlled education. It completely removes the entire portion of parents being able to choose like exactly what they can do and so on and so forth. And they control all of the curriculum and everything like that. Your government daddy is telling you what to teach your kids.
That's right. All right. So the Nazis believed, we've already kind of talked about this, so we won't really go too far. Believe individualism should be sacrificed to greater good of the community. Oh, wow, that's kind of crazy. We just talked about communalization in the last one. That's not capitalistic or American free spirit or anything right leaning at all. Okay. Let's look at some specific programs. The Nazis Strength Through Joy program. Germans received leisure opportunities such as Alpine ski trips, cruises, and theater tickets that were previously available only to the higher classes. In this program, guys, guess who paid for that? Oh, the taxpayers and the state paid for this. Is that something that capitalist societies do? Is the state pay for your vacation?
No.
Okay.
And that means we're all getting the same crappy vacation.
Well, it gets worse than that because guess what they did through Strength Through Joy?
What?
They used their tax dollars and their appropriations, we'll call it appropriations, or we'll call it gifts from the Jewish community that they managed to take forcefully to provide the income needed to build these vacation homes and vacation centers and resorts. So not only did they say, oh, you can do this and you're going to pay for it, they forcefully killed people to build these things.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so definitely capitalist, right? All right, let's just talk about some more totally not socialist policies. Hitler's administration decreed on October 37th a policy that dissolved all corporations with a capital under 40,000 and forbade the establishment of new ones with capital less than 200K, which swiftly affected the collapse of 1/5 of all small corporations. Now, this is an argument that the lefties like to say, Hitler was in cahoots with the big business. He was in cahoots. However, is it hyper-capitalist, as they would argue? Now, you can maybe argue corporatist, but not hyper-capitalist. I've never once heard them argue that the Nazis were corporatists. So let's just get that one out of the way. It's never been an argument they've ever used, at least not anybody credible that I've ever read. And then would you argue, though, that this sounds like a capitalist thing where you were eliminating businesses from being created and shutting down small businesses in general? Does that seem very capitalist to you? No. Okay. Let's talk about Nazi programs, because this is another one that I hear about how they use just the people's goodwill from the left to implement some of this stuff. Nazi programs, such as the winter relief of the German people and broader National Social People's Welfare, or the NSV, were organized as quasi-private institutions, officially relying on private donations from Germans to help others of their race. Although in practice, those refused to donate could face severe consequences. Let's give an example of this, right? The winter relief program officially, like I said before, relied on the voluntary donations. But in practice, those donations were often collected by armed members of the Nazi Party going door to door in uniform. This was originally the SA, the brown shirts, led by Rome, who was also killed in the light. And why? Why was he killed? because he was allies with the Strasser brothers and the establishment Nazis, Hitler, Himmler, and Goebbels specifically, and Goering and Bormann were all too willing. And I will admit, Bormann and Goering were more of opportunists than actual socialists, but Himmler, true believer, leader of the SS, saw an opportunity to take out their chief rival, the SA, and got rid of Röhm. And they got rid of the arm for the Strasser brothers. And Goebbels and Hitler went along because they weren't socialist enough. And so we see this when the SA gets taken over and the Hitler Youth starts taking over for the job for collecting this with honor. Would you tell an SS officer, no, I'm not going to give you any money if he comes to your door?
Well, I mean, in that moment, I'd probably feel like I have to.
Right. Okay. A law was passed in 1934 that allowed the Interior Ministry and the Nazi Party Treasurer to suspend any charities that competed with this. I'm not even trying to say that was used to force the other charities to limit their collective drives in the summer. Not only are they controlling individual businesses, they are controlling charities that earn money. So they are trying not to control you culturally throughout your life, as we've gone through and seen multiple times already. They're trying to control you through your economy. They're also trying to control you through your charity. You can't even give charity to organizations you want, because the national charity that they're taking with armed guns and pointing to your head is the one that they want you to give to, because anything other than that is basically treason. Does this sound like a free capitalist society or a hyper-capitalist society to you so far?
Sounds like a very controlled, I'm going to tell you every time that you're allowed to take a shit kind of society. And I don't like that. I like to poop on my own time. Thank you.
Right. Let's just go through some of this. Right here, we're going to refute some revisionist history. So a lot of the post-history, as the National Socialism correctly stated in his little clip that we showed, was done by people saying, oh, we got to change laws. And there's a couple of reasons for this. One of these being Operation Paperclip. And the chief among them, and this is going to be, is the Japanese, right? Almost the minute we dropped the bomb on Japan, we agreed to start taking people in for Operation Paperclip from Germany and Japan. Everybody remembers the Germans that we took. Otto von Braun. There's a few others that we came in and we built rockets, got to the moon. That's the famous ones, right? Now, what they don't realize, and I can forget I'm blanking on the guy's name, but he was the leader of the science division of the Japanese. Evil fucker. Maybe more evil than Mengele, the Doctor of Death, Angel of Death, right? He was one of the most evil people. You can look this up. It's not super, but one of the reasons what they did was because they wanted to start changing propaganda. This is a big reason why we're big friends with Japan today. Now, Japan got it fully on board with American society, so that helps. But this is something that they pushed, and they wanted to start look favorably. And a big reason for that is, guess who some of the original big pharma company founders is? It's the leader of the Japanese science division after he was given amnesty and citizenship within the United States. Holy shit, crazy
How
work.
convenient.
Yeah, how convenient. So we already had this start at the Operation Paperclip, which I will admit, that's not as a kind of a pro like American stance. We wanted these people here. Yeah, they were evil, but we're going to use their evil and all their evil notes because they did do human experiments and they were evil, terrible experiments, but they did have some scientific value for our good. Now that's step one on why this happened. Step two is because the socialists and the Democrats got smart, and we saw the fleeing with the rat lines to Argentina. Suddenly, during this time period, we see a giant socialist switch all throughout South America. Can't figure out why that would be. Uruguay even had Heydrich, one of the leaders of the SS, the second in command, take over as one of their national security consultants and lead their secret police, right? So this is a problem all throughout South America where we see these kind of people coming in and the socialist change immediately. And then we see this revisionist history. So let's talk about the revisionist history. We're going to refute it somewhat.
Okay.
Ludwig von Mises, he basically identified very early on in the 50s immediately that this was a socialist thing. We're going to talk about some other people here, specifically the vampire economy coming up, that were actual communists that recognize how they are left-leaning dictatorship as opposed to this idea now that they're right-leaning. Let's go through it. When one remembers the word Nazi was an abbreviation for, whatever. We're not going to say all these German words. In English translation, the National Socialist German Workers' Party. Mrs. Identification might not appear all that noteworthy, for what should one expect the economic system of a rule by a party with socialist name, but to be socialist? Now, I would say that, and then the argument becomes, Oh, well, that's Goebbels. Goebbels did this. He rebranded us, and we're going to get to Goebbels plenty later. But I don't want. But we're not going to do that now. But the idea that socialist is name and they're not socialist is bullshit, right? It's just like when people say People's Republic. When you say People's Republic, we know that's a communist country or a socialist country. It may be branding, but it's factual, right? You know, that's not. They're not a republic. That's their argument. It's the same thing. No. That's not the same thing. The People's Republic, and you can argue that communist countries are actually a form of People's Republic, you know, that's been corrupted into something else, right? Well, because it's the people, right? It's not like a republic like the ancient Greek city-states or the United States, which is a constitutional, totally different. That's why it has peoples in that. These people are telling you in their name they're socialists, right? But, you know, people dispute that. Right. So the basis of the claim that Nazi Germany was capitalist, as we've been talking about, was the fact that most industries in Nazi Germany appear to be left in private hands. What Mrs. identified was that private ownership of the means of production existed in name only under the Nazis, as we've talked about with the smaller companies, and that the actual substance of ownership of the means of production resided in the German government. Oh, shocker. For it was the German government and not the nominal private owners that experienced all the substantive powers of ownership. It, not the nominal private owners, decided what was to be produced, in what quantity, by what methods, and whom it was to be distributed to, as well as what prices would be charged, what wages would be paid, and what dividends or other income the nominal private owners would be permitted to receive. The position of alleged private owners, Mrs. Show, was reduced essentially to that of government pensioners. So, yeah, they didn't outright own them, but they owned its distinction without a difference. The de facto government ownership of the means of production, as Mrs. termed it was logically applied by such fundamental collectivist principles embraced by the Nazi as that of the common good becomes before the private good, and the individual exists as the means to the end of the state. If the individual is a means to the ends of the state, so too, of course, is his property. Just as he is owned by the state, his property is also by the state. So even if you're a private individual of property, doesn't matter because the state owns you. You see the issue here? All right. And so when people that are arguing that private owners do this and big business do it, Hugo Boss and Volkswagen and all these people, well, that may be true, but we'll get to that because once again we're going to see how they use slave labor to fund these people, with the Jews working for them, how they forced people that were like smaller businesses to close so they could shut the resources into specific industries, all sorts of stuff like that. But what specifically established de facto socialism in Nazi Germany was the introduction of price and wage controls in 1936, which is very anti-capitalism. These were imposed in response to the inflation of the money supply carried out by the regime from the time of its coming to power in early 1933. So we see from the start of them coming to power, they were trying to implement socialist policies. The Nazi regime inflated the money supply as the means of financing the vast increase in government spending required by its programs of public work. Oh, public works. Okay. Subsidies. Oh, subsidies. Wow. People just want to sell that as a right-leaning thing. How many times have y'all heard me come on here and bitch about corn subsidies, not helping the American farmer and helping big business? Oh, crazy. That's a big one, right? That's not helping the little guy as an entrepreneur. That's something that only helps people that are in cahoots with the government. Yeah, all right. And rearmament. Rearmament. I'm glad that one could be anything. The price and wage controls were imposed in response to the rise of prices that began with the result of inflation. All right.
And I have to say one thing.
Sure.
Sasquatch. There, that'll make him feel better. He just sent a Cash App for me to say his name. Go ahead.
All right. Racial and political exclusions. While the party was not mandatory for ownership was strictly forbidden from Jews and political dissidents who faced expropriation or forced liquidation. That means they killed them. Okay. State coercion. Independent direction vanished as firms were forced into state-controlled boards and organizations, like the German Labor Front. Oh, what is the German Labor Front? That's important, right? The leadership principle. Workplaces were subjugated to once again, meaning managers were held absolute authority over workers, but owners ultimately answered to regime directives. So basically, you owned a business, but they had a manager that you had to report for. The state labor union in Nazi Germany. Oh, labor unions. Oh, well, labor unions are pretty good for socialists, right? They like labor unions. In Nazi Germany was the German Labor Front. It was established in May 1933 after the regime forcefully dissolved all independent trade unions. Oh, So some argue that independent trade unions are good for capitalism. I wouldn't, but there are some that would. They say it gives protections to individuals. It gives protections to business and stimulates the economy. I would argue against that. However, there are some liberal economists that would argue that's true. However, what happened after they did it? They arrested labor leaders and confiscated their assets. Oh, well, state took over. And so this is the key characters of the DAF. Okay. Compulsory membership. Virtually all German workers, employees, and even business owners were forced to join by the late 1930s. It boasted over 20 million members, making the largest mass organization in the Third Reich. Oh, so they got rid of all the other individual labor unions, and they forced you to join a national labor union. Wow. Oh, that's literally socialism. Like in all examples, every country that has a socialist or communist dictatorship has something similar to this, where they make you join their labor union or they join their party kind of.
Like you have to, though.
Right? Yeah, or you can't own a business.
Oh,
Germany did this, where like, oh, you don't technically have to, but if you don't join the party or the labor union, guess who doesn't get any business?
You.
Oh, was that capitalism? No, that's not capitalism. That's forcing you to be in the party by virtue. So the thing they do is very intelligent. They knew a lot of this was a hard sell to the normal person. So what they did is they implemented policies like these to where, yeah, we're not socialist, that's socialist. We're not as commies as Stalin. Oh, however, what they do is it's basically a difference without a distinction. They force you to do these things or you don't have any access to the market, which is socialism, right? They outlawed strikes. The right to strike and collective bargaining was completely banned. Wages, working hours, employment conditions were dictated directly by state officials. So even if you had a job and you thought you were independent, the state said when and how you had to work. Oh, that's socialism. And heavily favored employers and production quotas. Some organizations to keep workers content without raising wages. Oh, so you're not going to get paid for it. The DFA operated through the Street Through Joy, as we talked about, and the Beauty of Labor program aimed at improved in workplace cleanliness of factory conditions. Guys, you might work 1 million hours, but God damn it, your factory is going to be clean. All right, let's talk about a left-leaning individual who studied the Nazis and he escaped.
Vampire economy?
Yes.
Ooh. Did they sell? Is it blood for blood? Is that what we traded?
Yeah, they're sucking somebody's blood, I'll tell you that. Gunther Reimann, born Hans Diendick, is posted The Vampire Economy. It's a fantastic book. I definitely think you should read it. He escaped Nazi Germany, and he was an avid communist. So remember, this is a communist writing about the socialists, okay? Flood the regime. You can see all this. Core theme of the vampire control without full novelization. Here, the central idea is the Nazi state drained the productive economy like a vampire, hence the name. Private firms kept nominal title to property assets, but the state dictated nearly every major decision: production target, prices, wages, raw materials, employment, investment in trade under the threat of fines, confiscation, or worse. A frequent cited analogy for the book caption is Uber Bolshevism. All your cows will be taken away from you because you're a kulak under National Socialism. You're allowed to keep the cows, but the state takes all the milk and you have the expense of labor of feeding them. Oh.
How are you paying for the expenses if you don't make any money?
The state does. And that's where the investment comes in. You have to do this or the state cuts off the funding to your business.
So they're in control of how you
right. So you have your business in name only. It's basically
you're just a worker at that point.
Right. And so the lefties and the DSA and all of these other revisionists and a lot of libs that don't want to be associated with any of this are going to say, oh, they were capitalists. But as we're going through here and you're seeing what the actual economy, and this is from a left-leaning guy. Remember, we've already covered this from the right now with Mills. Now we're covering this from the left with Reimann, right? So we're seeing this from both sides now, okay? Here's some more high points. Destruction of meaningful property rights. Courts lost independence. Rights became subordinate to the Führer principle and party needs. Business does not freely close to unprofitable operations, change prices, hire firewall, or allocate capital according to market signals. The state producing production is duly owned by the dream. So you basically, like I said, can only own it in name. Then they have regulations, price controls, and planning, detailed controls. And remember, this is a lefty saying this. We've already gone from the right. So he's also saying detailed controls covered raw materials, are allocated by bureaucratic priority, often for armaments or substitutes. Wage prices, foreign exchange. Oh, you can control foreign exchange, no foreign trade. Imports, exports, and investment. Shortages, black markets, waste, and efficiency followed because prices no longer coordinated supply and demand. Capital, which is the money and the value, was redirected by the state into war-related or political favor projects rather than profitable ones. So even if you wanted to be profitable, they took that away from you. Okay? The rise of the contact man. Traditional sales and purchasing roles decline in importance. Oh, if you can't sell anything and you have normal sales of buy and sell and supply and demand, that's capitalism. This doesn't have that. What we have instead is firms needing special intermediaries, essentially lobbyists or fixers, who maintain daily relations with the economic ministry and party officials. That's important. And I don't know if I put this in the notes, but the economic ministry absorbed all the Chamber of Commerce states under one umbrella, and they only have one Chamber of Commerce, the National Socialist Chamber of Commerce. So if you wanted to talk to people, wanted to do things, you had to go through the National Socialist Economic Ministry.
Sorry.
No, you're good. In terms of
all this bullshit's making me sneeze.
It's true. It's sad. In terms of shifting decrees, sought permits and allocations, and frayed private interest in serving the community or state. So if you have a private interest, it has to serve the community or state. That's not capitalist. Success depended more on political connections and navigation bureaucracy than on market force.
Okay.
Corruption is an system of necessity. With arbitrary power, custodial regulators, they became corrupt. Okay, independent entrepreneurs faded. Those were prospering, were often party aligned or politically entrenched. There are a few examples of people that weren't party aligned or basically were just token lip service party aligned, but they were so entrenched that they were basically in the too big to fail category. And this is going to be some of the examples, I'm sure, in the open that the few lefties that are going to squirm and cry are going to try to point to. But really, if the war continued and those people no longer became too big to fail, they would have been replaced. Business reorganization and incentives. Management shifted compliance. Management compliance with political distribution. Firms faced higher taxes, forced contributions, contributions, and pressure to invest in state priorities. Larger concerns sometimes gained leverage over local bureaucrats, created a dual power structure of money and party influence. Smaller firms were thoroughly dominated. War preparation, all these continue. We'll go to the next slide here. Oh, Dr. Goebbels. This is the one they all argue is a pure propagandist. Well, interesting. Sorry. Okay. Now, this is important. A lot of these quotes come from his early writings, and a lot of people are going to argue, Goebbels changed after 1933 when he gained power. That's not true. We go through his diaries. Right now, I'm reading through his diaries. It is very clear that he was an absolute avid socialist till the day he dies. And by the way, 32 is after the time when they're over here at the same time. They're taking out Strasser and Rahm and all these people. Once they gain power, they eliminate the people that aren't socialist enough. That's key. So I'm going to leave these up here for a moment. You can just skim through them. But socialism is the ideology of future. The bourgeois has to yield to the working class. Whoever's about to fall should be fall. Whatever we want, a workers' victory. This socialism. You can just see all these over. We are not a charitable institution, but a party of revolutionary socialists. Capitalism assumes unbearable forms at the moment when the personal purpose is run contrary to the interest of the overall folk. And it just goes on and on and on. And it's clear that Goebbels, who was a radical socialist and at many points loved Lenin and loved Stalin and was a big fan, he just didn't think they went far enough. And his idea was that they didn't take care of the Jewish question. And that's why that they were doomed to failure. Oh, that's crazy. It's kind of interesting because I feel like we keep hearing now a lot about the Jewish question in regards to Zionism. It's interesting how that kind of goes over and over and comes over and over again, right? And so I just want to point these things out because not only is Dr. Goebbels an avid socialist, he's also an avid racist who becomes more racist throughout his life to the point that, he's advocating for the Holocaust. He's advocating for the repurposement of their funds into the social state. And he's advocating for these economic policies. In fact, Goebbels once again, he sides with Hitler, but he even thinks Hitler is not doing enough for the socialist economy. And he thinks that part of the reason that they are not doing well in the war in some of his later diary is because, guess what? They aren't being socialist enough. Every single time. The issue is, oh, guys, we killed the not-so-socialists. We could be more.
Oh,
Great.
my God.
Oh, but hey, don't take it from me. Let's take it from a Nobel Prize winning economist.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. I mean, hey, the economists, they might know what they're talking about. I think winning a Nobel Prize, means you're pretty credible, right? I think so. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah, F.A. Hayek pointed out it made socialism more palatable to many Germans who were unable to see Nazism for what it truly was. Listen, one thing the Germans were fantastic at, as I discussed many times with Sarah, is marketing, as propaganda. Goebbels is an evil fuck. However, he's a very intelligent evil fuck. And there's a reason to this day in your political science class at major universities with presidential libraries, you have to do a deep dive on Goebbels' propaganda because he's the father of modern propaganda. And he did something key here. He pushed propaganda that he believed in. And that's the key thing here. You can always push better propaganda when you believe in the message. Okay? Mm-hmm. The supreme tragedy is still not seen in Germany. It was largely people of goodwill who, by their socialist policy, prepared the way for the force to withstand for everything they detest. Hayek wrote in The Road to Serfdom. Few recognize the rise of fascism, which was not a reaction against the socialist trends of the preceding period, but a necessary outcome of these tendencies. Remember, this is a Nobel Prize winning economist. He's saying that fascism was actually left in the 40s. Now, fascism now, not so much. Fascism in the 30s, 40s was left-leaning. Mussolini, left-leaning somewhat. Not as left-leaning as Hitler and them, but left-leaning. Okay? Mm-hmm. This is a big one, and this is one that I know a lot of lefties who are uneducated and think they know because they've heard the propaganda lines their whole life or get confused about. The second difference is that National Socialists were less concerned with directly controlling the means of production. What have we been talking about with all these policies, Sarah?
What have we been talking about with all these policies?
And how they run the businesses.
Well, the businesses don't even have the right to run their own business at this rate. We're not even right. It's anti-capitalism. Like basically, you just own a title that says I run this business, but the government is actually running it and telling you how to do it, and you're just a worker in the business that you think you own.
Right. You have direct control, and they don't. Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. Let's look at another economist. Because, hey, guys, I'm not saying it. Award-winning economists are saying this now, okay? In the 1940s book, German Economy, 1870, 1940. By the way, I have all these sources, if you can't see the links in here for a reason, so that when people want to call me out, unlike people that say I never have sources, Twitter, I'm looking at you, I do have sources. Gustav Stopler, an Austrian-German economist and journalist, explained that through National Socialism was anti-capitalistic from the beginning. It was also in a direct competition with Marxism following World War I. Because of this, the National Socialists determined to woo the masses from three distinct angles. Okay? Mm-hmm. The first angle was the moral principle. The second was the financial system. The third, it was the issue of ownership. The moral principle was the commonwealth before self-interest. The financial promise is the breaking the bondage of interest slavery. It's important because usury is the thing, and they blame the Jews and the banking for causing interest slavery on the worldwide capitalist market, which is crazy because we hear these same arguments today. These are all paralleled in modern Democrat leftist talking points and modern socialist Muslim talking points that unfortunately are seeping into the right. In fact, I'm going to give you an example. We watched an example at Modern Day Debate of all these people, specifically Andrew Wilson versus Dinesh D'Souza. During that debate, several times, they argued about who is the greater evil, etc., etc. However, I found it truly terrifying that someone that's supposed to be representing the Christian right was arguing that, the same argument that anti-American Muslim socialists, like the Ba'ath Party, have been using against the Jews for years. Interesting that it seeped so far into American culture that we are now paralleling 30s and 20s and 40s German philosophy and USSR philosophy regarding and proto-USSR philosophy regarding the Jews. And you always need a scapegoat, and right now everybody wants to blame the Jews in Israel. Why does that sound familiar? Because it's already happened before. It's already happened throughout history. So I urge you, when y'all sit here and argue against Zionism and the Jews, to look at yourself and why you're saying this. I don't actually have any fucking pro or con for the Jews and Zionism. I actually am a capitalist. I want to sell guns to everybody, and they just have to be on our side. So before someone comes and says I'm a Jewish dog or some shit, I'm actually genetically Basque. I'm literally a Neanderthal all the way back. My lineage is the least Jewish you can be, so I don't know what you're talking about. But let's continue, okay? The industrial program was nationalized of all big corporation business trusts. By accepting the principle of commonwealth before self-interest, National Socialism simply emphasizes its antagonism to the spirit of competitive society as supposedly represented by democratic capitalism. But to the Nazis, this principle meant also complete subordination of the individual to the exigencies of the state. And in a sense, National Socialism is unquestionably a socialist system. All right. Remember, this is a award-winning economist, right? So we're sitting here looking at two economists right now that have argued that they are so we've had a right-leaning individual, we've had a communist individual, and two economists all say that these are socialists. And remember, all these live closer to time. In history, we have things called primary sources. And the further you get away from those primary sources, generally it's considered less reliable. Now, analysis can be different, but these people are all people that lived closer to that time period and have said that this is actually what the case was, as opposed to now where people have revised history. And I even had this argument with somebody today, which is that socialism was a new concept, and we hadn't really determined what socialism was yet, which I want to say is utter bullshit.
No goodness.
Stopler, guess where Stopler comes from? Austria, and he fled Germany to the United States after Hitler's power. Yeah, crazy. So this is the Germans telling you. This guy, another first-hand account, just like the communists, but this guy's not a commie, noted that the Nazis never initiated a widespread nationalization of industry. But he explained in some ways this was a distinction without it. Holy shit! That's what I just said. The socialization of the entire German productive machinery, both agricultural and industrial, was achieved by methods other than expropriation, to a much larger extent and on an immeasurably more comprehensive scale than the authors of the party program in 1920 probably ever imagined. So remember, when they're first pushing out the 25-point plan and all these other things, they went way further than that. In fact, not only the big trusts were gradually but rapidly subjected to government control in Germany, but also was every sort of economic activity, leaving not much more than the title of private ownership, as we've discussed in depth. Here we go. 1939 book, The Vampire Economy. We're talking about the vampire economy here. Another famous person that is talking about and the vampire economy. Gunther Reimann reached a similar conclusion. The economic historian. So now we have a fourth person, an economic historian, Richard Ebling. Okay, important. This is a fourth new person, someone respected. This guy studies economic history. Okay. And he's talking about the vampire period. So this guy, an economic historian, someone who probably is not a fan, I can't speak to this, but I would assume someone that's an economic historian is probably not a fan of communists, where they control the economy completely. But he's quoting Gunther Reimann's fucking book, which, guess what? This is written by a communist. So he's going to give credit to what we just talked about. While most of the means of production had not been nationalized, they had nevertheless been politicized and collectivized under an intricate web of Nazi planning targets, price and wage regulations, production rules and quotas, and strict limits and restraints on action of citizens who remained nominally. The owners of private enterprises throughout the country, every German businessman, knew that his conduct was prescribed and positioned within the primary goals of the National Socialist regime. The historical record is clear. European fascism was simply a different shade of socialism, which explains, as Hayek, who we spoke about before, noted, why so many fascists were former socialists. From Mussolini. Mussolini, oh, he is a fascist. Nobody described this as abuse. That down, including Laval and Quincy. We're all left-leaning in like socialist liberals in nature in some regards. So crazy. We have multiple people talking about how fascist, 40s fascism, 30s fascism, significantly different from fascism that's generally around today, are left-leaning, and socialism is the clear result of these left-leaning policies. Like Marx fathered socialism, okay? Mm-hmm. The Nazis loathed capitalism, and they saw the individual will and individual rights as subordinate to the interest of the state. It should come with little surprise that these different shades of socialism achieve similar results: poverty and misery. Socialists will continue to argue that Nazism was not real socialism, but the words of the famous Nazi propaganda minister suggest otherwise, right? As we've talked about with Goebbels, who firmly believed throughout his life, and we can look at their policies as we've gone through with the Economist here. Okay? Now, moving on to the second half of our discussion.
The DSA.
The DSA. All right. The Democratic Socialists of America. Now, I want to stop and pause for a moment. Once again, I am very happy that the liberals have figured out that the DSA is evil. However, one thing they did, and I haven't decided what the best course of action is, I personally am of the opinion that we should probably team up with the liberals and force out the DSA. However, for us conservatives, this is a kind of a win-win situation, but a scary win-win, right? Because what we can do as we watch the liberal world order crumble worldwide is we can team up with them and force out the DSA and then handle the liberals later. Or we can just focus on ourselves, and then we can let the DSA and the liberals fight, and the liberals are going to lose because what have they already done? We've already seen that the liberals are unpopular nationally. Mm-hmm. They're losing ground. They literally put up Graham Plattner, who is a Nazi. He's got a fucking Totenkopf on his chest, or he did. He has.
No way.
You don't know about this?
No, this is news to me.
Yeah, Graham Plattner has a Totenkopf on his chest that he got in the military. Oh, well, they're going to argue. Remember how we talked about the SPLC-U, Southern Poverty Law Center, and I said they're actually Democrats, and I said they're actually evil fucks the whole time, and they said all these right-wingers are far right. They declared that the U.S. military was a hotbed for right-leaning hate groups, okay? And then now they're simultaneously saying that Graham Plattner got this in while he was in the military, and it was in an area where there were Nazis, and he didn't really know what it meant. Well, that's interesting. So y'all are saying simultaneously that the military is a hotbed for right-leaning National Socialist Nazi stuff, and I'm going to say it's right-leaning. I don't believe it's right, but this is their words. And then they're going to put forth a candidate who got a tattoo in the military with a Totenkopf on it. Crazy. So it seems like y'all are acknowledging in some degree this guy's not actually a right-leaning individual, even though he actually is a Nazi. And we have his text to these women where he claims all sorts of racist and Nazi socialist, National Socialist stances and policy. We already have the text. We can pull them up. It's not hard. And this is someone they push publicly. We have Madami. Madami is a pan-Arab socialist with ties to the Muslim Brotherhood. We have the Muslim Brotherhood. They're pan-Arab socialists. Once again, we talked about the pan-Arab socialists and Arab Spring having direct connections and coming from former Ba'ath Party members, coming from the Iranian groups back in the day, and other pan-Arab socialist groups all the way back, starting in the 50s after the fall of the Nazis. Where, guess what? Some of the Nazis moved to, because who was on the side of Hitler during World War II? The fucking Arabs. They were on the side of not, guess because why? They also hate the Jews. It's very simple, And they also hate, what else? The establishment capitalist West. Because why? They want to be the power. They are a perennial power, and anything they can do to destroy the West is something that they want, right? And so they're in cahoots. And we have the Democratic Socialists. We know that they have direct ties to the Muslim Brotherhood. As of right now, that's not even something they deny. Okay, so let's continue. Here's the Democratic Socialists of America, the new DSA policy platforms: eliminating the U.S. Senate, replacing the president and the Supreme Court with an executive and judiciary chosen by subordinate and subordinate to Congress.
Dictator.
Yeah, amnesty for all immigrants, defunding the Department of War. Another one they want to do with the Congress is is put it all into one Congress House instead of two.
Goodness.
So we'll just keep going. Here's some more policy platforms. I'm not going to go so far as to show the meme where they're saying they have 17 points that map onto the 25-point plan, but they, and I would even say those last 4 right there don't map onto the 25-point plan. But you know what they do map onto?
What?
They map onto history. What did Germany do as soon as they got power? They mapped on. They got it there.
History repeats itself, right?
That's exactly right.
And if you don't know your history, you're bound to repeat it again because you didn't learn from it.
Do you know the government of the German government was before Hitler and the Nazis took over after World War I? You know what they were called?
What?
The Weimar Republic, and they were leading out of the Reichstag. What happened to the Weimar Republic and the Kaiser and all them after Hitler and them took power?
Did they all die?
Well, some of them did, but they were disbanded. The Kaiser was kicked out. He stepped down and gave all power to the Führer. So
they disbanded their entire government, took over, and ended up in a dictatorship. And now they're trying to disband our entire government, shut it down, and replace it with their dictator.
Right.
Wow, this has come full circle.
Yeah, and what else did we just talk about them wanting to do here? They want to change out the judiciary and the Congress, so they changed out the Reichstag, changed the rules in the Reichstag. They eliminated anybody that wasn't a Nazi Party member in the Reichstag. They changed the judiciary, and they started having secret courts and secret police, and that's why the SS was started. In fact, further going forward with that concept, we have 2 groups. Everybody calls the SS the Gestapo. That's not actually accurate. The Gestapo was the organization ran by Goering as his secret police. Goering was the number 2 in Germany, right? However, he was useful to Hitler because he was the lead between the old guard and the new people, right? And he had plenty of power. He was also a war hero, and unironically, he was actually very intelligent militarily wise. Here's the problem. He had a fucking opium problem. Right. So whenever he got on the drugs, he wasn't such a good leader, and Hitler could shunt him to the side and leave him power and name. However, he did have an iron grip on his home state. I believe it's Prussia is where the Gestapo was. I could be right on whichever little home state, because Germany, before they were unified, had several different countries. Prussia was one, and he was in charge of this. And Gestapo was his secret police. Himmler hated that the SS didn't have power where the Gestapo was at. He hated it because the SS was the National Secret Police. So we see this trend of Hitler playing people against each other continued from back when, the Strasser brothers versus Goebbels, and who's going to lead the socialist charge, who's propaganda arm. The Strasser brothers owned multiple newspapers who were eventually subverted by Goebbels and given to Goebbels, and when Goebbels took over as the propaganda minister in charge of the propaganda for the party before they even became in power. And then when they became in power, the Strassers and Rahm were killed. Now, this, like I said, it shows how he likes to play his subordinates against each other to make sure no one subordinate has too much power. Do you want 2 secret polices? Probably not generally, except if you're worried that Himmler might try to kill you in the night, and you might want somebody with their own secret police that can keep an eye on Himmler. Oh, well, crazy. And vice versa. You don't want Goering, the guy that's basically the liaison to the old guard and the old money and the military, to get too much power. So he's going to have his own secret police, but you're not going to let him have total control over the military. You're going to give him a ceremonial role, only give him the Air Force, and then you're going to give Himmler the control of the secret police nationally. This is, once again, ensuring division of powers where they both have armed military forces to go against each other, while you simultaneously have your most radical person, Goebbels, continuing to push the propaganda and influence economic policy, while you have Bormann, who's basically a gangster, become his general secretary and fight against all of them for only giving and become the ultimate gatekeeper of Hitler. So you had to go to Bormann to get there. So he always is playing, and you can look through this. We can go through more examples, Hess and all these other people that have fallen in and out of power throughout the history. And this is a policy he does throughout his time. So it does not indicate in any real sense that, the Germans weren't socialists. socialists. This is a policy, it seems like the DSA wants to continue, where they're going to eliminate the Senate, eliminate the Supreme Court, eliminate the judiciary, the Congress, and have one Congress, and they put all the people. That way they can play people against each other while they control all these things. This is a continuation of the same style of tactics. But let's just go into some of these exact ones. Remember how the Germans had, and I talked about the economist and how he described how the Germans getting complete control through a three-pronged attack?
Yes.
Okay, this is the DSA Socialist platform. Okay, their platform is divided into three core pillars. Let's see if there's any comparison. The thriving working class community. Oh, that's a 1-to-1. Working class foreign. Oh, that's a 2-for-2. Working class democracy. Well, what the fuck does that mean? That sounds like People's Republic. Well, let's find out what those mean. Working class democracy and government form. The program calls for a complete overhaul of the U.S. political system, which, as we talked about, might not have been an open policy of the Germans, but it's exact, or German Nazis, but it's an exact same map on history, which goes fundamentally as so. Drafting a new U.S. Constitution to match modern socialist and democratic goals. Man, that sounds weird. Goebbels wanted to get rid of the establishment of the world, a Jewish bourgeois state of capitalism, and he wants to implement and wanted to implement then a modern socialist goal for the Volk. Wow, that's almost a 1-to-1 word for word. Let's see what else they want to do. Abolish the U.S. Senate Electoral College. Replace the presidency and Supreme Court with an executive and judicial branch chosen by subordinate to a single expanded house of Congress, or a people's house, i.e., guess what? The Volk, a Volk house. Interesting. 1-to-1 mapping again. Expanding voting rights to all U.S. permanent residents, including non-citizen people with criminal convictions. Well, Germans, they were okay with you being Germans. I guess this is maybe not a 1-to-1 map, but guess what? They seem to not like the Jews and the Christians very much, so don't be surprised when this is a lie and they swap that out from under you. Let's go to thriving working class communities and economy. The platform targets capitalism and corporate power by proposing a direct shift of economic resources to the working class. Public ownership of major industries, massive wealth tax, and a mandatory 32-hour work week with no loss. Mandatory 32-hour work week. Didn't we just talk about how they subsumed and absorbed all the individual labor unions into one, and then basically said, you have to do this? Wow, that
sounds really familiar.
It's crazy because
I thought we're not just reading the same PowerPoint from earlier.
Yeah, I know, it's shocking. Universal social guarantees, including government guaranteed health care, debt cancellation, free college, nationwide rent control. Oh, rent control. Man, that sounds interesting. That sounds almost the same as price controls, regulations, having public works programs, right? The Peace Through Joy program, where they use physical labor and required physical labor to build vacation homes and work. And so basically you're going to have all these things guaranteed by government. Let's talk about criminal justice transformation, including the elimination of cash bail. Why would you want to eliminate cash bail? Are you worried that people are going to be able to get out? Political prisoners aren't going to be available? Interesting. Ending mandatory minimums, demilitarizing police departments, and halting ICE detentions. Well, the reasons why I want these things, and socialists, if you look at Goebbels early in their career, in the 20s and 30s, one of the things he did, and a big issue that he had with the Strasser brothers, Hitler, and the Munich itself, because Munich is where the Nazis gained most of their power first, is because he wanted to be a radical. He wanted to destabilize the government. Well, what do we see right here? Once again, this isn't a direct 1-to-1 policy, but this is a direct map to how they acted, which is destabilize the German government, start causing problems with Pushism, with the brown shirts and the SA, and then basically, once you destabilize the government, you cause the problem, only you can save it.
Wait, what about the amnesty thing? Would that be something that happened before too? Because I know amnesty's on their list, their to-do list for the DSA.
Well, the amnesty part is part of the destabilization of America.
Oh,
because if you give all the criminals amnesty and you give all the illegals amnesty, then these people commit crimes that taxes the resources, et cetera, et cetera. So when they get in power and they implement these programs, then they crack down, they're the heroes. It's the age-old tactic. You create a problem, you solve it, you're a hero.
I'm going to create a problem. And then I'm just going to watch it burn.
Right. Let's go. The DSA also hates the Jews. All right, and I might have gotten a little bit. We got very good at making political cartoons. So we've got one here. 1930s Germany. Huden Ross boycott Jewish shops today. Zionists out from the river to the sea. Different decades, same demand. Interesting. I would say both treat Jewish national self-determination. These are direct comparisons for policy. So these are policies that exactly map out as well. That are whatever. Both treat Jewish national.
Well, hold on, because I thought a lot of righties were like anti-Zionist.
That's true. And it's very disgusting and sad. You know why? And I want to talk to all the righties for a moment. You boys have failed for pan-Arab socialist talking points. They got you. Every time they sit here and say this, they got, now, I'm not a pro-Zionist. I'm not a Jew, pro-Israel guy. I don't give a shit. But I will say this. The argument the left makes all the time, and this is, y'all all hear this, Gibbs, we need to support our allies. We need to support look what we did in Ukraine. We're not supporting our allies. We need to support NATO. How dare we try to take Greenland? That's the Denmark. That's our ally. Well, okay. You know what country is also our ally? Israel. Right? And they fought for us. People are like, they don't get involved in wars. Sure. They do provide us tons and tons of intelligence on all sorts of people. We work with them on spec ops all the time. For people to say that they don't get involved, that shit is idiotic, right? We also use them as a power play against other people. And the reason they're a proxy state, we use them to offset Saudi Arabia's influence. We use them to offset Iraq's influence in the Ba'ath Party back in the day, which they don't really need to do anymore because they dominate those people. And you've used them many, many times to offset Iran, which is part of the new BRICS. I think it's SEEK now alliance. So Israel is our ally. Whether they're a good ally is a whole different debate, but this is our ally. So when righties sit here and tell you, Zionism bad, all this, they are parodying the exact arguments made famous by the Muslim Brotherhood. Why are y'all such big cucks for the Muslim Brotherhood? Why are y'all sitting here bending over to spread it for the Muslims? Y'all need to let your balls drop. You don't have to like the Jews and the Zionists. You can argue America first. We should cut all these people off. I'd argue you're wrong. However, don't sit here and make the same arguments they make, because that's what you're doing. You're allowing the socialist agenda to infiltrate and just separate us from an ally that we actually use in order to push this further through. The Jews are avid capitalists. They're avid, individuals who are big fans of the military-industrial complex. These are all things that are pro-America. We had people. Remember, we did a panel on your show. Talking about how America has cut themselves to the Jewish military and how we're giving. Then I fucking did a little research today after. If you go scroll up 2 points up, it was something whatever 20. If you went to whatever 18, in the literal words it says we will not be giving any of our domestic tech to them. The only things that will be are happening with this bill is which Congress signed.
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah. It was like the fine print that everybody was missing.
Yeah, that nobody read is that we are going to appoint an administrator to take the jointly hybrid created tech from these people, and then we are going to get that from them, and not the other way. We got all of their domestically created tech. So not only did it say what did it not say what they said? It said the opposite. It said Israel's our baby back bitch. That's what it said. And all you little Muslim socialist cucks on the right that have got bamboozled need to learn how to fucking read, because you're embarrassing yourselves, and it makes us conservatives look like fucking retards. And it's terrible and pathetic. And I hate you for making conservatives look bad. You need to fucking let your balls drop and learn how to read higher than a 4th grade level. So, once again, I'm sorry. I just hate fucking socialists, and all these conservatives are giving power to them. But let's just go further in this. Let's talk about the DSA, though, because we don't need to argue with the conservatives. We need to talk about the evil socialists. Let's talk about the DSA. They hate the Jews. Both treat Jewish national self-determination as illegitimate. Nazis reject the Jewish existence as a people with rights in Germany in Europe. The DSA's current platform rejects Zionism as a racist, imperial, settler, colonial project and supports outcomes. Full right of return from the river sea that would end Israel's Jewish restorative state. Dinesh talked about this, and it's ridiculous that people can call fucking Netanyahu a Nazi. Crazy work. Y'all are fucking idiots every time you say that. Both use economic and social pressure campaigns against the targeted group. Nazis organize boycotts of Jewish businesses. The DSA endorses BDS and works to cut off all U.S. aid and ties to Israel. Both frame the targeted group. And this is something y'all can all vouch for. And we hear talking points from all y'all that all is a unique source of oppression or evil that must be reviewed for justice to be achieved. Brothers and sisters in Christ, Hamas is an evil piece of shit backed by an evil Ayatollah in Iran who's a prophet for a religion that hates America. And y'all want to sit here, so you're so sad what's happening to these people. These people flew on hang gliders and essayed women to death. And we have the videos of it. And y'all are going to sit here and deny that ever happened. And oh, woe is me. If Hamas, let's just say the Zetas, a Mexican cartel, flew over to Brownsville, Texas during spring break and flew to South Padre Island and started essaying women to death and killing people. What do you think the U.S. response would be to that? Do you think we would be playing nicely and sitting here targeting shit? No, we would carpet bomb the fuck out of Mexico. Every person there would be glassed. So when y'all sit here and talk about the stupidity of what's going on in that region, I want you to apply that logic. What happened to the Japanese when they attacked us? We fucking opened up the sun on their ass twice. And that was the nice solution. You know what the solution was if we didn't nuke them? You know, the policy that we were going to implement is we were building on Okinawa, and we were going to bring all the bombers that were in the Atlantic theater to here. That was thousands, 10,000 American B-17 bombers. We had the next one, next version. I forget the version of it. The one that the Enola Gay was that dropped the nuke. We had those bombers, which are even bigger, the Stratoforges. And then we had the British bombers, which were could carry more payload. And I don't know if y'all know this, but Japan was mainly built out of wood at the time. And the reason why we didn't implement that, and if we were worried about implementing that, is because we couldn't make napalm fast enough. The plan was to napalm the country from one border to the next and make sure that they created a firestorm so large that the population of Japan ceased to exist. This is a documented thing. The guy who was in charge of this actually ended up being a leader and implemented doctrine going forward for the United States in all wars. And that's part of the reason why we were so fast in our wars during the Gulf War, is because we implemented his strategy because, and I quote, he said, I don't think that the U.S. politicians and public have the stomach to get the job done quick enough to get like here in these countries after watching what happened with Vietnam. So the same guy is also the guy who wanted to build all the shit on Okinawa. So, and we implemented those things. So guys, when people say it was so mean that we did this, just remember, you don't fuck with the USA. We were going to fucking napalm Japan to fucking kingdom come. They were going to get to see the mandate of heaven in real time. So I'm just saying, like, all these things are crazy when we actually look at them in a historical context. Let's go further. Both have treated support for the opposing position as grounds for exclusion or discipline with their own rate. Nazis purged dissenter. DSA resolutions have made public support for Israel's right to exist or defend itself potentially expellable. We have seen this time and time again. What is happening to Bill Maher? I go do a show on Mondays with Prime K's, and I fight these ultra progressives all the time. I've never heard more hate towards Bill Maher, who's basically a boomer, center lib in my life. They are calling him Israeli cuck. We hear all the time. I'm sure I'm not reading the chats right now, but I'm sure people are calling me an Israeli cuck. I'm here all the time. It's crazy work that just because I'm not sitting here saying Zionism is a fail, I'm getting that me or Bill Maher or all these liberals or center right conservatives, or they have movements like me. It's crazy that all these people are trying to purity test on the Jewish question. The Jewish question. Wow. Where does that come from? That comes from the National Socialists and the Marxists because they're worried about what they're going to do to the Jews. But let's continue a little further. We're almost done, folks. I promise. The use of, I know it's death by PowerPoint and you hate it, but guys, y'all need to step your game up and have more of the PowerPoint and have more presentation because you look like idiots when you yell shit like you're a partisan hack and you have no fucking data to support that and you can't analyze anything. I need y'all to start looking into history so it doesn't repeat itself. Let's talk about some more similarity. Use the socialist branding. Both put socialist in their name while pursuing highly centralized, top-down political control rather than the classical liberal, purely marketed approaches. Okay? We've gone into that quite a bit. Collectivist framing. This is important. Both prioritize group identity and collective goals over individual rights when the two conflict. Politics is framed as a struggle between a virtuous collective and designated English. Recently, there have been several books and political theories positive and several published papers put out talking about the rise of what they're calling the moralistic left. And I've talked about this before in here, but not very many times, so I'll forgive y'all for not hearing it. But this is one of the first times in history where the moral high ground for a long period of time has been held by the left, where they go, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
You evil Christians are so bigoted, because usually the church or the mosques or the religions are the ones restricting a moral high ground. But if y'all know, Christians have been persecuted in the United States by the left, who have said, sit here multiple times, how morally bankrupt we are. How dare you attack the LGBTQ? How dare you attack the poor immigrant? How dare you? So once again, they're framing this as a collectivist framing where they have a moral obligation and a right to sit down and look at poverty. You know, the only other time where they've done this moral high ground shit is, once again, the National Socialists and the Communists. It's amazing how these similarities keep popping up. Okay? Ideological litmus test and purges. Wow, that's important. We've talked a lot about Nazi purges, both important for strict ideological conformity, dissent on core issues for Nazi space nation, for DSA, capitalism, imperialism, and now Zionism can lead to expulsion marginalization. Oh, wow, that's a crazy coincidence, wouldn't you say?
Mm-hmm.
Anti-capitalist rhetoric. Both have attacked finance capital. Wow, that's crazy. Guess what both did? They called it powers of Zionism now, or the Zionist thing. How often do we hear about the Rothschilds and their Jewish connections and they're all these things? These are all pan-Arab talking points. Oh, what do we talk about? Big business and elites. Oh, the bourgeois. Oh, we have the elite billionaires. Oh, same thing, different time, same different words, same meanings. While still working with state power and certain private interests with the oh man, I wonder what billionaire has ties to Nazi Germany, and also is a private interest that works with the leftists in the modern times. Is there? Can y'all think of any? Can you think of anyone, Sarah?
Oh, my brain farted.
I got you. George Soros. I'm not saying that he's behind all of it, but he's got ties to Nazi Germany. And oh, lordy, crazy how this guy, they're going to say he's a Jew. Yeah, but there's always the few that worked with the enemy, as there are in every company. You know, every country, you have some of them work with the enemy to stay alive and benefit. George Soros is one of those. It's crazy how he's pushed this agenda, continued to this day, and how it matches up almost one-to-one. We're seeing this over and over. We're seeing socialists like people like Bill Gates, where they push all this crazy stuff in Africa. I'm not saying that the alpha-gal ticks are a thing, but it's pretty creepy that all the alpha-gal ticks got released, and all of a sudden people are getting, all these problems with meat. And guess who was testing that? Bill Gates. Guess who funds a lot of social liberal programs? Bill Gates. All these state finance-backed people, not state finance, all these private groups that are working for a state of socialism. It's really interesting how this one-to-one compares. Let's talk about propaganda style. Heavy reliance on moral absolutism, slogans, symbols portraying opponents as uniquely evil or illegitimate rather than merely wrong. We just talked about this. How often do we talk to libs and they give you a sense of smugness? Not only are you a dumb conservative, you're just an immoral, bankrupt, dumb conservative. This is what we hear all the time. We hear, how dare you say it? Oh, you don't care about all these people dying in Africa because USAID was cut? You know, all this shit. We hear these all the time. The similarities continue. Let's talk about one of these last ones before we get to our last slide. Authoritarian organizational instincts. Strong emphasis on party organizational discipline and viewing politics as a zero-sum battle that requires unity against internal and external enemies. This is the problem the lefties keep making. The liberals thought that they could win with these people, and they needed them on their side. And what happens?
Right.
The liberals, just today, yesterday, Chuck Schumer said we're a big tent party and refused to disown them.
Did you say big tit or big tent?
Tent.
Tit?
Tent. T-E-N-T. Tent. Big tent.
Tent. Okay. I was like, what? What's a big tit party?
Yeah, I wish we was a big tent party.
I wouldn't be allowed to join that party.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, neither with a lot of the people under a lot of these doctrines, but that's okay. Here's the point. They call Chuck Schumer said they're a big tent party and can't disown the socialists just recently. I know if any libs are listening, they'll know that happened. They're pretty pissed about it. Here's the thing. He thought that they were going to help him. We're seeing Hassan sit here. What did Hassan do with Destiny and them showed up? There was a question and answer period that was going to be open. Hassan had someone dressed as Mao, and guess what? He went to the organizers of that event and said, kick him out. We don't want any libs here because they're going to sit here and chop. So the libs are being forced to accept the socialists as they are or get booted. They're losing power within their own party quickly because they fucking let the snake in and now it's eating the fucking eggs. It's crazy how this has happened over and over. We look at history. The Nazis made alliances all throughout their time with different socialist groups. Absorbed the ones that were absorbable, killed the ones that didn't. Then when they got in power, what did they do? They did the same thing, said join us or die, and they eliminated the current government. The DSA is not even hiding that anymore. They're openly saying this is what they want to do, and we need to listen. When the evil people tell you they want to do evil shit, believe them.
Speaking of believing them and doing evil shit, if you are a lefty and you want to start coming on backstage to come tear Admiral Gibbs a new asshole if you think you can do it, now's the time to hit that button. It is in the live chat. I've dropped the link there. You can start heading back now because Gibbs is working on his last slide, right?
I am, and it's a very short slide. And brothers and sisters, come ready because I have about 300 pages of notes and quotes and all sorts of shit. So if you don't have your shit, this is something I've been working on for a decade. So I don't want to hear like y'all come in here. You better come in here ready to go, rip roaring, and it's going to be a good time. So finally, last slide. I just want to point out it's very interesting. I made this here to shaking hands across time, but I want to make one last point.
Okay.
Do y'all remember the swastika up here? Where does the swastika come from?
That was, oh no, I do know this. Hold on. Oh my God. Cause there was a whole thing behind what it like popped out of. I'll give up.
Well, the swastika comes from Eastern theology. It's a happy, peaceful symbol. Some talk about it come from Iran. Some talk about it come from India. There's debate exactly. These are all similar regions. Here's what's important about it. Hitler adopted the symbol, inverted it, and put it across all their stuff and the branding. Right, this is supposed to be a symbol of peace and unity and all these good things, right? And he twisted it and made it evil. What has the DSA done? What is their symbol? Oh, it's the rose and people shaking hands. How calm and clean. This is the thing that they do all the time. They adopt an unassuming, happy image that people are associated with. What's California associated with? Roses, the Rose Bowls in California. They call it the granddaddy of them all when you talk about college football. You're going to play a football game, one of the premier conference games, the college football games you can go to in a bowl game was the Rose Bowl. I think it's still the Rose Bowl in the college football system, but it's the granddaddy bowl, the Rose. DSA, a lot of support in California. So guess what they do? They adopt a symbol that most Californians are not going to think too much of. Most people are not going to think very much evil of the rose. What's wrong with the rose? The rose has historical connotations.
I can tell you what's wrong with the rose.
It's got thorns.
There you go. It fucking hurts it's pretty to look at, but it hurts to touch it. So to me, they're telling you exactly what they're about to do. It's pretty to look at that little piece of paper that says equal this for everyone and everybody's going to have free healthcare and bullshit and ridiculous stuff. But the minute you actually implement it, it's going to fucking hurt.
Yeah, and I think a good example is I hope Fabian Liberty joins us because Fabian can vouch for this. The Fabian Society, what is their logo? Do you know?
No, I don't know that.
It's a wolf in sheep's clothing. And Fabians are very avidly libertarians. Why? They want to work within the society to get change towards libertarianism. Now, this is a opposite on the political spectrum, and I'm sure that Fabian's not going to like them comparing them to the DSA, but in this sense, they are similar. It's just like you said, it's a trap. They're telling you what you are while they're trying to subvert the current system. The Fabian Society, they're going to push more for libertarian and free capitalism stuff, which that's a good thing. Versus the DSA is talking about destroying us from within. They're going to sit here and look pretty, and they're going to say all these nice, affluent words and say all these happy, moral society policies. But in reality, they're very dangerous plant that will stab you the minute you try to fucking you do anything with it and prune it. So that's all we got for this.
Did anybody die watching the PowerPoint? I know death by PowerPoint can be rough sometimes. It hurts. I know. Are we gonna make it? How's your audience doing it? Did they survive that one?
My audience loves the PowerPoints.
They like PowerPoints? Oh.
Big fans. They like the PowerPoints. My audience is a big fan of evidence-based shit. They don't like to make points about shit without having to. In fact, I'm willing to ask my audience a lot of times. I go, someone says something in chat. What do you know what I say? I say, source me. And they'll give me 3 sources for the things they say because they know I'm not going to talk about it without having a source that I can read myself a lot of times when we're arguing. And I'm not saying that I go and chat for all the time, but sometimes chat will make a point. I know. Guys, educate yourselves. Get sources. Stop doing talking points. And next time y'all want to accuse me of not having sources or being a partisan, or like not knowing the overall history like we did the other night, I want y'all to take something. Remember, all of these issues that happen are always much bigger, and they're based in history. The immigration crisis that happened with Morocco and Spain is the product of a larger overall thing. The problems in the Middle East is the product of a larger overall thing. All these things, the liberals, the lefties, all these people have made deals with pan-Arab socialists. They made deals with socialists of other kinds, and now the dividends are paying off to the socialists, and the liberals are realizing their error. And that's what's happening now, and I want y'all to realize this is not something that happens overnight. In Germany, it started. Goebbels and Hitler, they started it right after World War I. You had the beer hall putsch, and you have multiple other putsch, and you guess what you have? You have these people, figuring out that's not the way to do it, and they start working within the system, and over, and they build up. This is, once again, not an overnight thing, but they're doing the exact same thing where they gain power incrementally, and they move in, and they take over the parties from within, and once there, they burn the system down.
Fair enough. All right, we got take your time. I'm going to read the super chats because they all like me anyways. They will talk to me. But if you're in the crowd, and especially if you're a lefty liberal loser, according to Gibbs, then I want you backstage. Right meow. All y'all righties that are backstage might need to sit this one out for a hot minute and let the lefties come up first. Let the lefties come, do their thing. That's what Gibbs wants. Gibbs wants blood. He wants, come on, Ty, get up here. You must wait. No, Tiberius, get your ass up here. I already know your stances. You're kind of over the line there. I think you need to come defend yourself.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I want to hear it. I mean, I also don't mind. I know that some of these righties are going to be upset about the Zionism take, but that's okay.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Okay, we could have the righties up too.
But really, the problem is these people, the righties that are upset about this, are parroting socialist talking points. So I guess they like socialism. Interesting. Whatever.
All right, fair enough. We got Ayatin. She made me make a goal just for her. Because she wanted to make sure it counted. So if you check the goal, it's just because of Ayatin. She reminded me in the chat to make one. Thank you, Ayatin. She said, tomato tag, win Gibbs, win Sarah, and win Mater Nation. Yes, Mater Nation is the best thing since sliced bread. Calvin, why are you not backstage, actually? Come on, I know you want to play with this one. Gibbs debates need to come with closed captions. I agree. I 110% agree.
Listen, it's a respect thing. We talk fast because time is money, and people that talk slow don't respect your time.
Yes. No, I agree with that to a degree. Tom Carpenter says the Big 20 says Gibbs talks slow. Need to watch on 2X. Now you talk too slow, Gibbs. No way.
There's no winning. There's no winning. I talk too fast or I talk too slow.
And for the record, to those in the chat, your dono goal, you're running out of time. You better unfuck yourselves James, since the Big 10 says you can thank Ayatin for this. Yes, absolutely can. Absolutely we can. She's our darling baby buggy bugaboo who kindly reminds me in the chat to set my own goals because I forget sometimes. Nunny says DSA must stand for dumb, silly ass seems to fit. What do you think? Yes, no, maybe so. Dumb, silly. And Lobster sending in the 1,000 jewels. I have no idea what that translates to in money terms, but goat trophy, I'm all about that. So I guess y'all got to see a goat trophy on the screen. That sounds kind of cool. All right, Mr. Admiral Gibbs, would you like to get a panel up here?
Yeah, bring them on in. Ask them if they're ready for the whoopings.
Are they ready for the whoopings? Or are you ready for the whoopings? Which way is this going down, Gibbs?
I mean, listen, I don't know when the last time I lost on your panel, one of your open panels was, but it's never. So I'm pretty confident.
I love you so much. Fucking bring him on. Here we go. All right, gentlemen. I got two more in the back. Oops, sorry. I'm gonna put you there. I'll put me there. What?
Also, real quick for the super chat reminder, listen, the frogs are turning the socialist gay. I'm sorry. We have to do that.
They really
The
are.
gays are turning the socialist frogs.
Yeah, there you go. We were talking about the vampire economy. We should have been talking about the vampire slave colonies on Mars. Lord and Lord, brothers.
We're going to suck all the blood out of the housing industry. There's nothing we can do about it. There's too many immigrants. Every time you turn around, they try to take another dollar.
Oh, goodness. All right, you all got it out of your system. Now everybody's muting up, except, of course, whoever I call on. We're going in round robin style on asking Gibbs question and poking some holes. I do have two more well, we all know Spin's a fake right winger, but I think he's really a Democrat. But we got two more back there. So if any of you are fucking up, I'm just going to boot you and bring somebody else up. But then, of course, we move into the full gauntlet mode later. All right, Mr. Caledonian Elixir, welcome, sir. I hear you've caused me a lot of problems. Apparently, I'm just to be blamed for everything that you've
Apparently,
decided.
we also look alike.
Really? All your fault.
Yeah,
all your fault.
Apparently,
You're
AI
grown
images
ass-
of us are the same.
A
Apparently.
grown-ass man making decisions on his own, and somehow there's a woman behind it. Amazing. But Caledonian, go ahead, start grilling Gibbs. What you got for him? Questions, comments, fuck yous, whatever you want.
Okay, so the way I see it is the Third Reich didn't operate solely as a socialized economy. It also operated in a financial nexus that included Deutsche Bank, the Reichsbank, President Hjalmar Stadt, coordinating with, for example, the BIS, which is the Bank of International Settlements, US Chase Bank, US Standard Oil. And when most people think about the Third Reich, they overlook what happened previous to it, the Weimar Republic, when Germany existed in a broken economy, massive inflation. So think about this, how did Germany go from a nation broken in ruins to a nation with the largest military in Europe, a military juggernaut that was essentially built on world domination, right? Well, it was because just a few years before, the US financial institutions, with its apex nexus in Basel, Switzerland, the BIS, coordinated with a cartel of central banks to invest in the Third Reich. And then you had the corporate connection, IG Farben, with American IG, US Standard Oil, Ford. And it was this banking nexus, not socialism, that built the German army, that built the Third Reich, and it enabled it to steamroll into US capitals. And all that gold, all that treasure, that was sent to the BIS, that acted as essentially as a middleman, paying down German reparations. Right, so my first question is, right, what was the dominant part of the German economy under the Third Reich?
That's real simple. If we actually look at history, we can see once again, all of what you're saying is semi-true, but it's really a mask. Because once again, as we looked at throughout the demonstration, the PowerPoint I made, they cover all these different economic policies. But the biggest one that gained in money is twofold. One, Germany is one of the only socialist countries that we argue would have worked with an economy. Why is that? Because they do a total war economy. And one thing about the Nazis is if they put a gun to your head and say work, you're going to probably go work, right? So they go out and you do this, and you have, remember, these people are not getting paid more. You have wage control, so they're working basically as slaves, very underpaid. Then you have a large group of people who, I don't know if you remember, what was the reason why the Jews got kicked out of how many countries? Oh, it was the banking system, which is what you were just talking about, and usury. And so what did they do in Germany and Austria and all the countries where they had Jews? They killed them. They took the resources, not just in Germany, but in Austria, in Denmark, in Norway, in France. They did this over and over, and by the end of the Third Reich, part of the reason why their industry was failing and they couldn't produce the higher-end Tiger tanks, they couldn't produce the Navy ships anymore, is not because they didn't have the production means, it's because they didn't have the money, because they started contracting, and like most empires built on total war, you have to always be expanding to gain. And after you've killed all the Jews, and you've killed all these other immigrant groups that were not as wealthy, but you still took their money, guess what? You suddenly don't have any more money, and that's why they started failing, and part of the reason why many average soldiers threw down their arms. Because guess what? If the SS can't kill you,
okay, can I come back? Can I
Sure.
come back to that? You were right. It was the German military-industrial sector, right? So how did German commercial banks with the BIS finance that rearmament and that cross-border capital?
How did they do it? Once again, they renegotiated these terms all over the place. They fought the globalist elite. We see this over and over. They rebelled.
No, they literally were the globalist elite. Heidelberg Skat had connections with like American IG.
Nazi. Yeah, like Ford, right? Like you had Ford.
Morgenthau,
yeah. And were they both potentially Nazis? Ford was for sure. In fact, he argued, Ford and Prescott Bush threw a coup, right?
So
and they were national. So you're arguing. What you're arguing is that Nazis in cahoots in other countries were helping fund their military-industrial complex, while simultaneously taking the money from the Jews, the banking system, and implementing it. Well, that's what happened. I mean, it's unarguable what happened. I have four economists.
Weird how reality doesn't represent.
I mean, I quoted four.
One at a time, gentlemen. It is the Q&A. Down to just a notch.
I'm saying that Nazi Germany was established through military-industrial rearmament financed by central banks in order for Germany to pay down World War I reparations and investment done at the start of the Third Reich's emergence. So that was what it was all about.
Right.
That's why, for example, you had the Hashawite Kingdom fall because the BIS and the central banks wanted to move into there, and then they wanted to move into Germany, and that's how the Third Reich emerged. And then they wanted to move into Soviet Russia, and that's why they got Germany to attack Russia. And you see pre-war, during war, and after the war, that central bank nexus that included Britain, the BIS in Basel, Switzerland, and America existed before the war and still exists today.
Well, hold on. The central banking system worked against the Germans once the Germans started getting.
No, they didn't. The central banking
they absolutely
system
did. They absolutely did. Hold on. This is really funny. You're actually confusing two conspiracy theories. There's a major conspiracy. There absolutely is. The major conspiracy theory is the reasons why we fought the war with Germany. Once again, is because the Rothschilds weren't in cahoots with them anymore, and they were taking
the
I'm sure, but that's part of it. Is once again the Jewish banking system, which the Germans were fighting against, and once again, you still haven't refuted the fact that I have four. One being an economic historian, one being a Nobel Prize winning economist, and two other economists, all basically say the exact reason they're able to accomplish all these things is while going against the central banking system controlled by the Jews is by expanding through wartime aggression and simultaneously centralizing control of power with the economic system and putting all these people in power, taking away the rights of these people, and simultaneously taking the money and the income and the property away from anybody that fought against against them, specifically the Jewish banking class
You're the
and
only
the
one
world
mentioning
Jewish
the
one.
Jews. You've mentioned the Jews about
because this is important to the conversation.
No, it's not. They're not
it's
important to the conversation. I'm
then
talking
you're
about
just
the Bank
denying
of
history.
International Settlements. No, I'm talking about Reichsbank.
But you're saying I can't find any quotes or any policy talking about the worldwide Jewish global.
Reichsbank President Stadt, the Bank of International Settlements, and IG Farben. What role did these people and organizations play in the creation of the Third Reich and financing German rearmament?
Yeah, I mean, once again, actually, I just looked this up real simple. The exact thing you're talking about right now is referred to in economic theory, specifically May's Business School is publishing this. So once again, here's a source. Is saying this is called what Calderion, Mr. Elixir over here is spouting. This is what they call, and I quote, the dual finance myth of centralized banking worldwide. So what you're talking about is literally a myth in economic theory, while I'm sitting here talking about hard, verifiable fact.
So the Bank of International Settlements, that isn't a central bank that serves to coordinate with other central banks around the world. And they didn't finance Germany in the 1930s.
All sorts of people financed them. You know, the Pope. The Pope also backed Hitler. You think that you're saying all Catholics?
Let's go one at a time.
You said all Catholics backed Hitler because one bank went along with him that might have been centralized and terrified for their lives? Oh, well, that seems to be what you're saying. You're trying to apply one example and make it a whole story when I'm giving you different various supporting evidence and facts that dispute what you're saying on a max level. I can give you tons of quotes and policies that go against.
Who was the Reichsbank president in the 1930s?
I don't have that name off the top of my head. I mean, I can tell you in a second if I pull up my notes here.
Okay, yeah, pull up your notes.
I mean, and there's multiple, I believe, because they changed who's in charge.
It was Jonas Stadt, right? And what connection did Stadt have with the BIS?
First I have from 1924 and 32. I have, it looks like Paul Loeb, and then I
said during the Third Reich.
Okay, and then we had Hindenburg, who was removed.
I said during the Reichstag president. It was Stadt.
Okay, and so then who was after that? Who was after that Hindenburg was removed?
I said the Reichsbank president.
The Reichsbank. Oh, not the Reichstag. Okay, let me look that up here. I don't know, but I don't know what your point is. Okay, sure, but what's your point?
My point is Stadt operated in Germany and worked with the banks pre-war, during the war, and after the war to work with American banks and corporations to invest in Germany.
I'm like pulling my numbers up. Right, so once again, reading Goebbels' diaries, this just once again proves you wrong. I'm looking at Hermann Schmidt, first term, during 23 to 1930, so not during your point, but the Reichstag Bank, once again, he resigned because guess what? They didn't like the Young Plan, which is something the Nazis were avidly against. Oh, surprise. Then we have Hans Luther to 33. He failed because of the Great Depression, so I'll grant that one. Oh, then we have Reich Schmidt, that's what you're talking about. Oh, he wanted to do, interesting. These are the quotes. He backed the deceptive metho bills and backed the state's early nationalist economic policies, and he was dismissed in 1939 due to the escalating disputes over military spending and disputes with Hitler's inner regime, specifically Himmler and Goebbels. Interesting that the same two people pushed him out that have been avid that they weren't socialist enough the whole time. So this really kind of puts an egg in your salad, brother. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, they literally invested and financed German rearmament, and you got to question, ask why did they do that?
Yeah, because they're
why did Stadt and a
country.
cartel of central banks set up the BIS in order to invest in the Third Reich to start rearmament? Why did they do that?
Yeah, well, it's very simple. All right.
What has it got to do with socialism?
Well, it does have a lot to do with socialism.
We're talking about a nexus, a cartel of central banks.
How did the United States? When was the closest time for the United States to get into socialism? Was it under FDR? It was under FDR. How did we get powerful? We invested in public works, in armament programs. Oh, wow. Lordy, you're repeating the exact same plans that the socialists were trying to implement here. So you're once again the things you're pointing
talking
to
about
prove my
banks, not socialism.
I'm talking about socialism. Maybe you're here for the wrong panel.
I don't think you know the difference between socialism and central banks.
I do know this. I'm pointing out that the policies you're talking about prove my point.
Between a cartel of central banks and socialism.
A cartel of central banks would be a cartel, would be a group of banks getting together to implement certain laws and regulations to implement that benefit banking and banking laws. Would you agree with that statement?
And it was that cartel that invested in the rearmament of the German military, wasn't it?
Sure.
Was it?
Did it make them money?
Was it? Was it that cartel of central banks that invested in Nazi Germany to essentially fund the rearmament? Was it?
Was Hugo Boss a private company?
No, answer the question.
I am. Yeah, this is my point. Is once again,
no, I don't think the point. Answer the question.
They absolutely did that because they make money and take advantage of a volatile situation, and then they got bamboozled. This happens all the time. I don't know why you're shocked about that.
And how would they make back that money?
Well, did they make back that money?
Yes.
Oh, did they? That's interesting because they didn't make back that money because they fell apart to rapid inflation after the war. So you don't know what you're talking about.
Money. We did make back that money through the BIS. How did the BIS serve as an institution that basically sent back?
What happened? What happened to the Reichsbank in 1945?
What happened to what happened?
That's important, right?
Germany's estate collapsed in 1945, didn't it?
So the Reichsbank, the central worldwide authority, are part of this cabal of central worldwide banks, right? That you just
I didn't say the Reichsbank.
You did just say that. You said it was the liaison, and guess what happened? They fell apart. They fell apart, and they're gone. They don't exist. So it sounds like once again, this is all arguments of convenience and nothing substantive. Because once again, I've laid out multiple points over and over again. And facts. Yeah, it wasn't convenient because it fell apart. They didn't make any money. There was no more money to be made.
They made a lot of money. IG Farben, American IG, American Standard Oil. These people made a shit ton of money.
I mean, Standard Oil made a lot of money because they're selling to everybody. That doesn't prove your point. That doesn't make them not socialist. The whole point of this panel is the Nazis were socialists, not that they fucking used the system to get what they wanted until they could.
They weren't socialist Nazis. I'm saying that the Third Reich basically was built by a banking nexus that funded the rearmament, that invested in Nazi Germany in order for Nazi Germany to invade and attack other countries that would pay down the reparations.
You know what? I'll even grant all of that. Here's the problem with your argument, right? I disagree with a lot of it, but let's just grant all of that for the sake of argument. Here's the problem with what you're saying. Even if you're 100% correct, what I have been arguing this whole time is that the Nazi Germans, they got into power through doing one thing, they get in there, and then they immediately use the system that's in place to implement their system by de facto power, right? So they may have used your system that you're talking about. I disagree with the way you're describing it being used, but let's just say they did it. They still use that system in order to implement socialist policies and socialist economic gains, right? And so then what are we arguing about?
I told you what, I'm different with you. The Third Reich essentially was built by a banking nexus in order to fund rearmament. So the whole purpose of the Third Reich was for Germany to repay the reparations that it owed because of World War I and because the transition from the Weimar Republic to the Third Reich happened because Germany owed all these central banks throughout the world a sum of money that they couldn't pay. And the only way they could repay down that investment was to invade other countries. And that's what they did with their gold and their loot and their treasure. They repaid all those other central banks.
Right, and I mean, you're right. I would agree with that. That's the most part of the analysis I agree with completely. But here's the thing, right? And this is kind of why I keep saying this. They're the only socialist country that's ever worked because they went to a total war economy with your armament plan. And then what did they do? Once they stopped being able to gain ground, they started falling apart. So, I mean, even if I grant you all the part where you disagree with me, it's still like a distinction without a difference because it leads to the same outcome. You see what I'm saying here? Like, because my whole argument is they used the system that was in place, subverted it, and put the socialism in place to replace the current capitalist economic system that was controlled by the Jews, in their opinion, right? And so, even if they did exactly what you said, which I mean, we could get into like the weeds if you wanted. Like, the end result is socialism.
And let's one more quick response from Caledonian, and then Gibbs. You'll have a final word, and then we'll move on to effigy. That way we can get everybody in, and then of course we'll do open panel later.
I just want to say I think there are parallels with the US political system in Nazi Germany, right? The Third Reich, but not because of socialism, but because that same banking nexus that funded rearmament, that created Nazi Germany, that same banking nexus exists today and it's still integrated with the US financial system today. And we're talking about Chase Manhattan Bank, we're talking about the BIS, all of those institutions that built the Third Reich, they still exist today. And that's a threat to the US, not socialism.
Well, I would agree with that. It's a threat to the US, but I think it's part of the reason we're heading towards socialism gaining power within the Democratic Party. But we could get into that more, I think, in a bit.
Perfect. And speaking of banks, chat, you still have a dono goal that you do need to meet, or else after we do this Q&A, we're not going to make it to the gauntlet, and I'm going to go get some other work done that I got to do. So it's up to you. All right, Effigy. I know you got so much to say, especially you going hog wild in the chat. So what you got for us, sir?
I do. I have a lot to say, and I'm just going to say it. I was going to ask Gibbs some questions, but I don't want to get Gibbs galloped like Caledonian Gibbs.
We're still in Kel's lives now.
So I'm just going to slap this thing out here. So first of all, this is like the only one revising anything Gibbs here is you. As far they're just some basic questions you ask. You don't really have to get super deep into it. Did they preserve private property and corporate ownership in any fashion, or did they abolish it? They preserved it, even if you had to be a certain race or whatever. They preserved it. After they took power, was there a mass privatization or was there a mass nationalization of assets? There was a mass privatization. The Nazis sold off a shitload of companies, a shitload of steel mills, a shitload of shares of major companies. They sold that shit off to private hands in their party. Privatization. Did they retain profit?
Where did they sell it to? Where did they sell it to, Effigy?
They sold it to private hands of party members.
Oh, okay. Just making sure I heard that right.
Yeah, not members of the government, party members. There's a big difference. Like, definitions matter. So also there was a retention of profit motive and capital gains, like Caledonian just mentioned, a shitload of companies, IG Farben, Krupp, Siemens, Diamond Benz. They all had profits. They all paid out dividends. They had profitable state contracts. All this shit still happened. None of this would happen under a socialist thing. You mentioned the destruction of the trade unions. The German labor front that they forced all the workers into was not a fucking union, dude. It was a control mechanism that froze their wages and then stripped them of labor bargaining power, basically ensuring profits of their employers. Next, the easiest one, they fucking killed all the lefties. They fucking killed them.
Just real quick, Effigy,
what happened on the night of the long knives?
Sure, I agree.
Killed on the night of the long knives.
Yeah, anybody that was not socialist enough. So not just like
no.
Real quick.
Goebbels' definition of socialist at that point had changed because he switched to Hitler in 1926.
Just a real quick question, because since you're bringing this up, can you tell me what happened to anybody that wasn't a Stalinist after Lenin died in Russia?
And your point?
Well, because we don't not call Stalin a communist, right? He's a communist. You would agree, correct?
Sure.
All right. So what about, I don't know, all the fucking communists he killed?
At this point in the party, there were left-wingers and there were more right-wingers.
So Stalin can kill all the other communists and still be a communist, but the socialists, Goebbels and Hess and them can kill all the other socialists that weren't social enough and not be socialists. That's called
because they didn't believe the same things.
Oh, so there's different kinds of socialism.
In National Socialism, they were faking out a bunch of fucking people. And they were getting people who believed diametrically opposed opinions, which is why they had to purge the fucking party in 1934 and kill everyone who believed in anti-capitalism and socialism.
No, they didn't kill anybody that was anti-capitalist. They killed the people that weren't socialist.
They killed a shitload of anti-capitalists.
Here's the point. Let me give you a hypothetical here, because you did this really interesting thing a little bit ago. Right, where you said they sold it to party members. All right, so let's say right here, we're a country. How many of us? Eight of us, okay? And Mr. Elixir, he's I don't know, he's part of the Bob Saget party, and Duck over here, he's part of the Gibbs party, and I take over, okay? And you own a business, okay? And I say, all right, I'm going to take your business unless you join the Gibbs party, Mr. Elixir. Would you say that is a government way of government control? When I send Duck in there with the guns to take the business from Elixir and say, if you don't join the party, we're going to privatize it and sell it to a different party member, would you say that's government control or not government control?
There is a form of controlled capitalism.
It's not okay, Gibbs, real quick.
Lenin
real quick,
said that
Gibbs,
controlled capitalism
it's not okay to use
socialism.
me as an example.
Well,
Gibbs?
No, shut up, Duck. Shut up, Duck.
I don't understand this.
Shut up, Duck. You know
it's
the
not
drill.
okay to
Round
use me.
Robin. Go ahead, Effigy.
All right, moving on. So also, what did these people espouse? What did the Nazis espouse? They espoused reactionary conservatism. They espoused traditional gender roles. They were aggressively promoting traditional patriarchal family structures. They one of their favorite phrases was "children, kitchen, church" because they wanted to increase national birth rate. Sound fucking familiar? They suppressed modern art. They called it degenerate art. They attacked jazz, progressive literature, liberal academic institutions. They burned down the first transgender surgery clinic. They persecuted minorities. They were about racial purity. Like, come the fuck on. Does any of this sound left wing? They literally
all of this sounds extremely
liberals
left wing.
in concentration camps.
Did you watch the PowerPoint? I don't know if you did, but there was a whole segment, we can pull it up again, about how being racist doesn't make you a right wing. I know that y'all try to push this as right wingers are the only ones who can be racist. Let's look at Juche, for example. Their idea is that North Korean race is the superior race and as part of their Juche, and they actively persecute minorities that aren't North Korean. So when you say that left wing, that right wing, that racism is inherently right wing in the manner that you're trying to do, you're just fundamentally incorrect. So I'm sitting here hearing these things. Yeah, and this kind of goes with the other thing where I'm talking about they gave lip service to Christianity, but then simultaneously depowered any Christian organization that went against them. And they even fundamentally held
the Pope. They had God as witness on their fucking uniforms.
Where's the Pope? Where's the Pope located? What city?
I don't know. Did he move?
The Vatican, right? Who controlled the Vatican and Italy at the time? Was it Mussolini, who was famous for killing people?
The entire German army.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Were they all Catholic?
They were Lutheran and Catholic.
They were Lutheran and Catholic, correct? Okay. And so would it behoove them initially in the first wave of socialism while they're fighting out in a war to really fight the war? Or would it behoove them and say go against Catholics?
Socialism doesn't have any of the things I just listed.
Or would it behoove them to put a gun to the Pope's head and have him sign a treaty, which is what happened, and say this, and then have the Catholics not fight against any of the socialist policy and give lip service so the average German went along with it, which is more likely what happened, considering we know what actually happened, and it's the second thing, not the first thing that you're describing. Are you disputing they held a gun to the Pope's head and made him sign the treaty?
Did they literally hold a gun to the Pope's head?
There's been discussions that might have been actually what happened. Yeah, Mussolini. Are you going to tell Mussolini that you're not going to do whatever him and Hitler want while he's got two of the biggest armies in the world around you?
I guess it would depend on whether or not the Pope believes his religion or not, right?
Well,
if he's
that's
willing to die for his beliefs.
Yeah, I mean, because we know that the popes have never been corrupt in the entire time in history, and the Catholics have never done anything ever.
Maybe I've got a higher ideal of what a Christian is than you do.
Sure. You might. I have a very low ideal for what Christians are. So, as a Christian, so yeah, I suspect that the Pope was a baby back bitch and bent over for him.
Fair enough. All right, let's go ahead and move on. And to my chat, you had better unfuck yourselves before we get to Mr. Balderson, who can and will very much be the last person to speak here this evening, and no gauntlet. I'm going to leave it up to you to decide what you would like to do. Duck, go ahead. What you got for us, sir?
All right. So just the point I'm not understanding from Gibbs is that Adolf Hitler literally turned Hamburg, Dresden, Berlin, and Cologne into civilian cities defended by generals, right? So this is not something unaware to Adolf Hitler. He turned cities into places that had to have generals that he was executing, actively executing and imprisoning them, defending these cities that ended up getting firebombed. And so what I'm wondering is, are you okay? And what the fuck did you drink before you came on panel today, Gibbs? You're drawing economic conclusions about someone who is psychopathic. Many people who are psychopathic and idiots and morons, Gibbs.
Yeah, I am drawing economic conclusions based off the policies they implemented. I mean, I'm not going to disagree they're psychopathic and evil, but they implemented policy as a ruling government body, and their policy is unequivocally socialist. Do you disagree with that?
No, but you don't. But
no, you don't disagree with that. Okay, good.
I don't what I don't understand is if you had a city that
You cut out.
Yeah, you
was
cut out, Doc.
literally served, and then you're suddenly getting firebombed, and yeah.
What is the firebombing?
Yeah, so I mean that's it's the same argument I said the first time.
Yeah, but what is the argument? Is that the firebombing?
The link to firebombing and socialism? I don't know. That's your job, right? You know, I'm just watching. You know, if I'm watching history, I'm watching Nazis be Nazis, not really be that good at the things they did. I don't understand the link between socialism and firebombing, but you're asking me to draw that conclusion. I don't understand it.
Are you talking about what I'm talking about, the firebombing of Japan? Are you confused about what I was talking about there? Because those are separate things, and I was talking about why revisionist history came to be.
I am confused.
People did, yeah, so we were threatening to firebomb Japan further to the point that they ceased to exist. And part of what we did instead is we started, once they surrendered, is we took Operation Paperclip and took people from both Japan and Germany to implement our science and our economic divisions, right? And what we did was then, okay, we have these evil people.
Okay.
What do? You go on a public reform program, PR, right? And so what do they go? And what do? They put out public relations, they put out good slime, and that's part of the revisionist history that I was talking about. That would be, I guess, the link to the firebombing portion that you're talking about. They did, I don't know how I would call what they did in Germany firebombing. That was, they didn't really have wood houses. They bombed them. Are you understanding?
So, and I don't mean to sound sarcastic, but do you think? Yeah, I don't mean to sound sarcastic, but this might clarify it. So, do you see the socialists that got firebombed while Hitler was assassinating generals in Germany as victims, or do you see Japan? And maybe Japan or Operation Paperclip, like you were saying, do you see those guys as victims? I'm still trying to hone in on what you're trying to say here.
Well, I would say arguably Operation Paperclip, none of those guys are victims. They got the fucking free pass out of jail. That's what they got, right? But as far as the people that got bombed, yeah, they were victims of being in an evil country with an evil leadership that they empowered. And whenever you empower the devil, just like what the libs are doing to the DSA, don't be surprised when the devil cashes in that deal and takes your soul.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, but we do know again that like Hamburg, Berlin were major cities. So that's my point is that you're talking about somebody that couldn't stop major cities from being under control of Nazi generals, executing those generals, and then getting firebombed. That's the kind of room that I'm in. And just to be clear, that's it as well.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, Doc. Let's move it on to DK Dickspiracy. That's what we called him last time, I think, right? Did we call you that last time? But DK Spiracy, go ahead with your question to Gibbs or comment.
All right. Okay. So first of all, it was actually the Jews who declared war on the Germans. It was not the Germans who started the war. The Jews had been declaring war against the Germans for years, worldwide, internationally, before the war started. And you're trying to say it's the Germans that
You're way too far away from your mic, bro. Nobody can hear you.
Dude, come on, man. That's a known fact. That's a known fact. So basically, you are lying to everyone in the first place. See, that's something you can't actually even go against. You know for a fact there are headlines worldwide, internationally, with Judea declares war against Germans. That is an actual thing. You cannot dispute that. Right. Point number 2. You made some silly comment about how if people aren't pro-Jew, they must be pro-Muslim. Nope. Fuck both of you.
It's not what I said.
No, that was what you said.
And what I said was,
if they weren't for Israel, they must be pro-Muslim.
No, that's not what I said. No, what I said was,
in the middle of your complete rant earlier
I'm sure I can give you my exact
I wrote
words.
it down.
Good. My exact quotes were that y'all believe a pan-Arab socialist talking point, and y'all were Muslim cucks and bitches for believing the pan-Arab socialist talking point. Those were my exact words.
No, they weren't.
Oh, they weren't? Clay said those were my exact words. So I guess other people heard me.
Saying what were your exact words. Those were not your exact words.
They were pretty much my exact words, is what I just said.
So now they were pretty much your exact words. You can't have pretty much and exact in the same sentence.
Okay, well, I said it multiple different ways in the same exact sentence.
But
Right?
no, it's not. That's not pretty much exact.
All right. What is confusing to you about this statement? The conservatives that are anti-Zionist and are put for the reasons of anti-Zion genocide and war and shit are pushing pan-Arab socialist talking points. What about that sentence is confusing to you? Because I said that several times with that wording or exact words.
That's not what I wrote down, brother.
Well, I can't help that you need to get your hearing aids
You
checked.
can't help that I wrote down what you said. Okay.
I mean, listen, I do know there's this cool thing called AI, and after this, we could use the AI to transcribe it, and it's going to say exactly what I said.
That talking fast means you're always right.
I didn't say that. I mean, listen, brother. I'm sorry that you got confused on my wording.
Talking and talk over people, it makes you right. No, it doesn't. It just makes you a fucking mouthpiece.
Uh-huh. That's right.
Right, point number 3.
Okay.
You brought up something about Soros funding who? You said Soros funded the Germans. No.
That's
Soros
not what I said.
was a Jew who
That's what I said.
He worked for the Jews.
No, I literally said that.
He worked for the Germans and helped knock on his neighbors and raid other Jews' families.
That's what I said.
He didn't do it, because if he didn't do it, someone else would.
Are you watching the same show as what I just did? I literally verbatim said that. Like,
Yeah, but that's the Jewish mentality. Like, if I don't steal off someone else,
who are you arguing with?
I've got to steal first.
That's literally you saying the thing I said, and then you're saying I didn't say
I'm saying it is Jewish mentality, my friend. The Jews will steal off everyone with the mentality that if I don't do it, someone else will anyway.
Guys, are we living in real time?
Our mentality. I have to steal first, because otherwise someone else will steal.
All right, I just.
Why do you think everyone is a thief like you?
I just want to reiterate that I literally said verbatim, and this was once again, we can go back and check the tape. I said Soros was a Jew that worked with the Nazis, and he's pushed Nazi policy through donations worldwide, specifically and especially in the United States. And I'll summarize a little bit because I said a lot more about it.
Full of shit. He promotes Jewish policy and Zionist shit. He doesn't promote Nazi anything. And by the way, the word Nazi.
Wait, you just said he was ratting other Jews out, right?
No. By the way, the word Nazi comes from Ashkenazi. You projected your own derogatory term onto a different group of people.
The Nazi comes from the National Socialist Workers' Party.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. The Germans never called themselves Nazis. The Jews called them Nazis.
When y'all were asking what I did before this panel, y'all need to ask him what he was doing before this
panel. In a couple of minutes.
Listen, I've taken ecstasy before, and it seems like you're having a hallucination.
Oh, goodness.
You're not.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So much that's wrong, incorrect, and
this sounds like a good one to move off of. DK, thank you for your kind contribution. Darth Thorains, what you got for us?
Am I coming in loud and clear?
You are very clear too, actually.
Okay, so yeah, Mr. Gibbs, that was a boomer ass take. For example, this is propaganda from like 2016, and let me give you an example. Mr. Gibbs just stated that George Soros collaborated with the I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that word. Can I? The N word. The
Nazi?
I mean, I've said Nazi many times. I hope we're able to say it.
Okay. So yeah, this is like propaganda from like back in 2016. Now, Mr. Gibbs talked about he has resources. Mr. Gibbs, present us the resource in which George Soros collaborated with the Nazis.
If you just listen to DK Spears, he just told you what he did.
That's not true. Now you present your resource. Your bullshit.
My resource is where was he born?
You made it the fuck up.
No, I didn't. I could.
Yes, you did.
How about
That's a
AP
conspiracy.
News? How about
That's
AP
literally
News?
a myth and a hoax from 2016. I remember this bullshit.
Well, this has been a common theme for many years. AP News
It's bullshit.
We've had AP News has reported many times that he was somebody that was in.
Where's your resource, man?
Do you understand what AP News is? Associated Press?
Here's the fact. He was fucking 14 years old at the time of the Nazis.
That's true.
Which makes us incapable of him actually collaborating with the Nazis.
Well, that's
this
not
is
true.
This is a dog shit hoax myth perpetuated of fucking baby boomers.
No, let me ask you a question real quick. All right. Was the Hitler?
No. First admit you were wrong there. Admit that you were wrong. Okay, you're not willing to admit you're wrong. Got it.
No, because I'm not wrong. Let me ask you.
Take the L, Mr. Gibbs. Take the L.
Did I earlier, when I was in my speech, in fact, I can even go to the slide if I need to, talk about how the Hitler Youth, along with armed guards, was going around and they would report.
Gish Gallop Gibbons.
No, I did say this, right? Is this correct? Did I say
Gish Galloping?
No, hold on. You just said
Gish Gallop.
Just let him talk.
Well,
it's okay. He's the guest. He can Gish Gallop. He can Gibbs Gallop.
Yeah, well, it's real simple. This man just in here. He said he couldn't do anything. He was 14. My statement about source was, as DK reiterated and said I didn't say for some reason, was that he was a Jew who was in occupied Hungary, right, by the Germans, and I said he basically did anything to survive, which up to, and many rumors, including some reported by the Associated Press, which is a reputable news agency.
Sorry, I got to correct you on that. I never.
All I'm hearing is that you're admitting that you're wrong, Gibbs.
Right.
What part
Once again,
of mute yourself do you not understand?
The Associated Press is a reputable source, and they have stories out where they have said that it has been reported that he may have collaborated in order to stay alive during that time period with giving away other Jewish locations. Now, what adds further fuel to this fucking truth is, guess what? The Hitler Youth is well documented for even reporting their parents if they weren't up to Nazi standards. So not only do we have evidence that the youth was a weapon used and then militarized by the Fuhrer with that for this purpose, is we know this is a definitive fact. So what you're doing is you're denying that they did this over. It's not
the claim was that George Soros collaborated with the Nazis. You don't have a source for that.
I just gave you what the Associated Press, and
no, you have a myth.
Once again, the Associated Press is a reputable news source, and once again, you don't have any supporting evidence. While I have circumstantial evidence as well, with the Hitler Youth being a prime arm of the Nazi power machine. Do you dispute that the Hitler Youth informed on all sorts of people? Is that a thing that occurred? Yes or no?
Gibbs, Google. Did Soros collaborate with the Nazis? The answer is no.
Cool.
Take the L, Gibbs.
If you Google,
take the L, stop trying to get Gallop.
If you Google if the Nazis
I don't care about the Nazi youth collaborating with the Nazis.
You don't care about facts, though. That's the problem. You
Gibbs,
just want to
you don't care about facts. This is just copium. You don't want to admit that you're wrong.
I gave you a source.
This is copium. Anyways, yeah, let's move on. Let's move on from this L. Let's give you another L.
This guy probably believes Snopes is a good factor.
Bro, this is just boomer takes.
It's not a boomer take. I actually
have a boomer
take. Zero. So hold on. I just want to point out once again his source, and he's not willing to engage.
You don't have a source.
No, I just gave you an Associated Press. Once again, I said multiple times.
That's not a source.
The Associated Press is not a source. Are you retarded?
All they're saying is it is possible that maybe George Soros collaborated, but we're making this shit up. We're literally making it up.
That the Associated
That's
Press
not a source.
The Associated Press is considered one of the most reputable news sources worldwide by both the left and
nobody.
Secondly, you have not been able to refute an actual historical fact, which is that the Hitler Youth and the National Youth in Germany,
red herring.
That's not a red herring. It's a direct correlation. Red herring. We're talking about. You just said a 14-year-old. I know you don't care because you hate facts.
No, because you don't have a source for George Soros collaborating with the Nazis.
The Associated Press. Once again, the Associated Press. I've said this. How many times I've said this now? I'm gonna start turning this to a drinking game. Every time I have to give a source that he denies.
You don't have a source. That's the problem.
Associated Press. Once again,
that's not a source, man.
Bro, everybody thinks the Associated Press. Who here thinks the Associated Press?
Fox News saying something doesn't make it true. Do you understand that? You boomer brained. You got a
Who said
boomer
Fox
brain.
News? Did you say Fox News? Oh, sorry. I'm
That's
talking
the
to Ghost.
equivalent of
Nobody
saying
said-
boomer. That's the equivalent of saying Fox News said something, therefore it's true. That's
Nobody's
boomer,
saying that. The
that's
Associated Press
boomer
is a
mentality.
reputable source. Once again, they have reported on it.
Who cares if they're quote unquote a reputable source?
Secondly, people that care about how
We
sources
need actual historical evidence.
once again, okay, we do have historical evidence the Hitler Youth, which
What
is
is
of
it?
the age
What's
group.
the historical
Hold on.
evidence
Which
that
is
George
of the
Soros
age group.
collaborated with the Nazis?
We have of the age group that you've described, people in that age group.
That's not
informing the
evidence that
the
George
Nazis.
Soros collaborated with the Nazis.
So we have an age group and an organization
there's
that
plenty
does
of
exactly
people
what I
within
said.
that age
And
group
then
who
we
didn't
have
collaborate with the
George
Nazis. So
Soros
is that
being
evidence that George
reported
Soros
on by the
didn't collaborate with the
Associated Press
Nazis?
that did this.
I'm sorry, but I can't hear a fuck all of any of what either of you are saying because you're talking over each other.
Yeah.
I'm trying to eat my taco while I'm enjoying this,
I'm sure you are.
but I'd like to be able to enjoy
I'm
it
trying to eat your
more.
taco.
Nice.
Oh, come on, man.
Yeah. Listen, I just got to say, whenever we get to the point where we're denying historical fact that 14-year-olds...
You don't have any historical facts.
Listen, you can
That's
keep
the
saying
problem.
that. You can keep saying that. It's well documented by many, many sources.
It's
that
literally the facts, man.
Hold on. All right, so you're disputing that your argument earlier, before you changed it now, when moved the goalpost, was that he was 14 and he couldn't have informed because he was a child. And I've given you, and you can look up this is well documented, that the Hitler Youth, which is full of 14-year-olds, was one of the major reasons the Nazis stayed in power because they acted as informants for the National Party. Then we have
That's fallacious reasoning.
No.
Then
Then
he was 14, the same age as the Nazis. He must have collaborated with the Nazis.
No, this just disproves your
Do I
point.
have to repeat myself? Take turns. It's not that fucking hard.
Well, I mean, but the problem with what's happening today is I'm giving a circumstantial evidence backed up by a direct source, which is the Associated Press. So the circumstantial evidence, which refutes your claim that people at the age of 14 couldn't inform, and then we have the Associated Press articles, of which there are several, that have differing reports. Some say this didn't happen, some say it did, have reports of him being in occupied Hungary, being a 14-year-old Jew who is reported to have might have survived there by giving up other Jews. These are reports that we have from several different sources, other than the press, if you really want to dive into it. And so we have two pieces of evidence that support that this could have happened. Then we follow through with what Soros has pushed, which is socialist policies, and the picture kind of comes together. Now you're disputing.
Okay, now let me get this straight. Gibbs, let me get this straight. Your argument, the fact you're presenting that George Soros collaborated with the Nazis is that he was 14 years old. That's your entire evidence. Get the fuck out of here with that.
That was my entire evidence. Is that what you just took from the last?
That's literally what all you said. He was 14 years old, the same age as the Nazi youth, which means he must have been a Nazi.
I'm glad that you think you're getting the dunk, but you actually look like you.
Yeah, take the L, Gibbs. Take the L.
I mean, the only L I'm taking is the one that you've got right now, and I'm taking the
That's
dub.
kind of gay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I mean, I don't know what you're talking about with gay. I'm talking about dubs, winning, and being correct, which I am fundamentally correct in this, and you're fundamentally wrong, and you don't know what a source is. The fact you don't know what the AP is a reputable source, and you're denying that, calling that boomer, and
Stop
then
peddling this boomer garbage, man. This might have worked back in 2016. It's not going to work on the youth of today.
I mean, nobody's trying to work on the youth today except for the socialists because they want to corrupt and revise history. I'm sorry that you don't know how to tell what a primary source is, but that's something you maybe need to learn about. It's important.
Admiral, I'm an anti-Semite, but I'm not going to make bullshit about my enemy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care about whether you're an anti-Semite, if you're anti-God, if you're anti-whatever. The point I'm making is learn what a source is, and then learn what circumstantial evidence is.
You learn what a source is.
Sounds like a good time to move on. All right, thank you, Darth. I appreciate you, Clay. I'm actually surprised what you got for us.
Oh, don't be surprised. Me and Gibbs don't agree on a whole lot. Hope my mic isn't. Is it too? Yeah, so I need to lean in. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my mic right now, so I'm gonna try to lean in.
I'm gonna switch microphones. I'm gonna walk away, but I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Hopefully I don't get yelled at though. In all seriousness, please don't yell at me, Gibbs.
I might yell at you.
I'm doing like this the whole time.
Well, as long as you don't tell me that I said something and I didn't say it. Whatever. I've heard 3 times already.
I'm actually gonna say this. I was wondering what model you're using for your political theory here, because I'm not finding it like what you're saying on like the standard model or any of like the other models. So I'm kind of wondering how do you model your left-right? Is it left-right only? Is there like an axis where it goes X, Y? Is it D'Souza?
Are you talking about are you talking about my like model for like what I determine is left and right? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, exactly. Politically.
Well, I mean, first of all, I would say that the left-right dichotomy is a circle more so than a straight line. Because if you get too far to the left, eventually you start sounding like a libertarian, and vice versa. And it's kind of like we do this thing. Like, for example, like if you look at weed, libertarians want weed legalized because of individual liberty. We don't want it. And then you have socialists like in North Korea that want weed legalized for different reasons, but they're socialist reasons. So you have this kind of dichotomy goes together. You also have the top down, which you have the class dichotomy. So like when we talk about Trump being a populist, that's an up down. Just the left right page. You also have you can also graph it where you have the giant graphs. You have this authoritarian and right-leaning streak, and then you have economic policies. So those are two different ways you can graph it. I would argue as far as political. As far as you asking like specifically why I'm calling the National Socialist left as opposed to So I mean, the argument I'm making is that
you get where I'm going with this, because essentially with this, your mic keeps going in and out. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I think it's because I switched here. Are we good now?
Oh, it's the roll around mic.
Yeah, we're good now. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So essentially, because I'm wondering, because the standard model doesn't do the doesn't do that. It doesn't. So I know D'Souza, essentially the way that he proposes things, essentially the way that I understand him, he just essentially takes everything that's authoritarian governmental and just throws it on the left. And everything that's liberty and freedom and capitalism, he just throws it on the right.
You would be wrong if that's what he was doing. I don't think
that's essentially what he does.
Well, sure, I would disagree with that as well. I mean, a better way you could look at it, like if you look at like a military junta, which is a dictatorship, and oftentimes, which is a military dictatorship, most of those are right-leaning, right? You also have like the Lord's Christian Army. They're not a government, right? But they're a big, powerful terrorist organization, right? They would be like right-leaning authoritarian, right? There are plenty of examples of right-leaning authoritarians all throughout history. That's not what I'm going. The reason I'm saying that these are leftists and the reason why the lefties are able to argue that Hitler and Mussolini and fascism is right-leaning is because fascism, unfortunately, left-wing fascism in the 40s and 30s was left-wing, right? However, fascism has this tendency that once you get in power, you lead through the military, and then it becomes authoritarian, and it starts to lean right-wing. Now, the difference is, though, with Hitler's socialism is that they actually pushed the socialist economic policies. What they did that was smart, right, is that they did it through the party, right? This is why the people over here, like Effigy and them, are arguing that he privatized things. Yeah, he did privatize, but when I went through the policies earlier, what he did was he got rid of small entrepreneurships. He made deals with businesses too big to fail. He backed those, and then he implemented state control. So although they might be in control privately, they actually had no power, which is state leftist control, and he implemented price controls, et cetera, et cetera. This is all things I fucking went over in my PowerPoint. This is all things the several economists went over. This is the same thing the economic historian stated. So the idea that they aren't left-wing is actually a fairly new thing that starts happening around the 60s. And that's whenever we see Operation Paperclip really go into full effect with Otto von Braun and the rocket program and the race with the the USSR. And we see, what's his name here? I'll pull up his name right now. I just looked it up. His name is, Shiro Ishii. And if you know anything about Shiro Ishii, he founds one of the first major biopharmaceutical companies in the United States. So what we did was we had these evil fucks, and the government, because the U.S. government has never done anything shady like rebrand evil people before. I mean, ever. They've never done anything like that. Is they've rebranded these people, and like tried to kind of paint a softer image, especially when they had Democrat liberals like JFK that wanted to get to the moon at all costs. You don't want to say you have the Nazis running NASA. Right, but you actually have the Nazis.
Let me ask you this: do you see any form of socialism sitting on the right?
Sure. I mean, I would argue that Trump is, in some ways, has some socialist tendencies. I would argue that there are social democracies that are like a cross between they have socialist things like the Nordic models, where they're social, like capitalism. But I would argue that the difference between those is, like with Nordic socialism, right, where it's a capitalist thing, they have like one industry that's privatized, and then it funds a lot of the programs. Like Texas does something similar, right? We have oil, and we take the money, the tax from that at the tap, and it funds the higher education in Texas. Everything goes to Texas A&M or Texas UT, and then if everything's not spent by those two schools, goes to the rest, right? And that would be socialistic in nature in some regards, right? However, and that's right-wing socialism in some way, but that is the way they do it and implement it is much different. They're not like making the Exxon join the Texas Republican Party to like, or they're not going to be able to work here, which is what the Nazi Germans did.
One more, okay. Do you see capitalism being on the left at all, or is there any use in on the left side of the model for capitalism?
Well, right. Well, absolutely. Here's the scary part about the socialists, right? Is they absolutely have to use capitalism, right? One, because socialism doesn't work in a post-scarcity society. That's a whole different debate. But two, if you look at China, which is a good communist, they have a hybrid economy, right? So they are trying to move towards. They tried really going far left. Didn't work because two reasons. One, I think it's bad. We're not post-scarcity. Two, the global system is capitalist, right? So if you're trying to be a major country, you're going to have a hard time doing a full socialist thing where the entire world as a globe is capitalist in nature, right? So they have moved towards a hybrid economy. And in Germany, I'll give you an example. Yes, they're socialist, but they still had a hybrid economy of sorts because they couldn't implement full socialism until they conquered the world, right? So this is kind of the battle.
I'll say this for my closer because I'll let the rest of the panel go. But I want to say this essentially, like I believe that a lot of the issue comes in the modeling. I believe that your model for you works because you've examined all of these different ideological political platforms, and you've plotted them according to where they sit in I believe socialism and capitalism and where they meet on that spectrum. You're kind of pointing that there might even be an axis there, because if it's a circle, that means it's a graph, right? And let's say that one outside of the middle point, you can reach like one, right? That would be the totalitarian of the whole circle, but somewhere on that plot point exists. That's where I was kind of going with all of this.
I mean, you could absolutely be like a benevolent socialist as well. I mean, that's not like there's all sorts of different versions of these things. Like, and this is the problem I have when they talk about, like, if you look at Strasserism, which is a form of Nazism, Strasserism is significantly different than what the Nazis push, right? And Effigy argued that, he killed the socialists. Well, Goebbels argues in his diaries that they killed Strausser and his brother because they are like not the same sort of socialists they are, right? And so my argument would be, yeah, that's fine, and you can argue about the graphing. The issue that I'm having is I think that the left has co-opted the academic system, and what they've tried to do is reframe what things are. Right. And so when we're talking about this, and this is why when I'm talking about my graph and all these things, I'm trying to talk about verifiable economic policies that we can look at. And so when we look at certain things that are inherently socialist, like state control of the economics,
sure,
this is what they do. They don't necessarily, you might own that business, but if you don't own if they own you, then you're not really a capitalist.
Yeah, actually, that's kind of where I was kind of going with the final there is like we can agree what is and isn't good, right, for society, right? We'll do moral, ethic, principle, whatever. But I also kind of agree with the ability to graph it out, because a lot of people work with the visual aid. And so I think it's beneficial to do that for some people, because if I don't see it, sometimes I don't understand it. And I believe that doing that,
they would have been like top left on the traditional four-plate graph. They would have been on top left. They would have been on the social. They would have been on the social program. The left authoritarian. They would have been in the same categories like Stalin, in my opinion.
Yeah. So like with the death by PowerPoint. And here's another thing I wanted to make sure to say. That I know you've probably watched a promotional video for how to use PowerPoint and all that.
Mm-hmm.
It's 5 things. 5. Remember 5. You've got like 100,000 up there. 5. Remember that. 5. And then also, just to finalize all of this, Darth, that was absolutely horrible timing the whole joke there. I mean, you gotta really work on that, bro.
Well, even to your credit though, Clay, Goebbels would agree with you. I should have just used one word on the thing and then talked about it afterwards. So you're right.
True, yeah, but you know what that is? That's propaganda, right? And
I rest my case.
People don't want to read. They don't want to do the deep dive.
Well, yes, and you've accused me of being a propagandist, and what I'm doing right now is showing I'm not. I'm showing that I'm not a propagandist by posting these in a manner so that everybody can see the sources and the whole thought instead of just the one word.
I'll tell you, you know, we disagree on a lot of things.
That's fine,
but you're definitely entertaining, and you're very explanatory.
Yeah, I mean, I don't take offense to fighting with you. It's always good times. I also know you can take a joke, so that's good.
Well,
all right. I love you, Clay. All right, Spin. Let's get you going. What you got for us, bud?
Oh, I've just got a couple comments. Who was that complete and total fucking idiot that was just up here? Dark or whatever the fuck his name was.
Darth Thoraines?
Yeah.
No,
the AP is more credible than you will ever fucking be.
Dick Spiracy's still up here.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, Darth Thoraines was the one that was up here and then left.
Oh,
But
yeah,
so was
the AP
Doc.
is more credible than you will ever fucking be. Hi, Gibbs. Second of all, I want to go back to your PowerPoint for just a second, Sarah, if that would be okay. It was the slide.
I absolutely do not want to fucking bring that thing back up on this screen. I just sat through an hour and a half of a PowerPoint and you want me to get it back up here? Fuck no, he can read it to you.
That's fake news. It was an hour on the dot. I finished the PowerPoint at exactly an hour.
It was the slide where the DSA wants to defund the Department of War.
Yeah, that's from Fox News. That guy, he's right. I did get that one from Fox News.
But
that was from their interview.
Yeah, right. Well, let's think about how bad that would be. It's more of a comment than a question.
Bad.
It'd be very bad. And then we get rid of the Senate. Mm-hmm. How fucking bad would that be?
Well, that's the whole point.
And what was the middle one? I apologize, Gibbs.
The judiciary.
Yeah. Let's just get rid of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Let's throw trillions and trillions of dollars to the migrants or the immigrants or the illegal invaders and whatever else. Let's just bankrupt the country
and get rid of the prisons.
Oh, yes, get rid of prisons. Let's think how stupid. Oh, amnesty, cashless bail. Let's think. We're going to let I want to be careful how I say this, Sarah, obviously. Let's give a PDF file cashless bail.
Mm-hmm.
Let's give a murderer cashless bail. Oh, they don't have to pay anything. Well, you know what? Lindsay Clancy trial's going on right now, and that bitch is still in jail. Oh, she unalived 3 children. Oh, guess what? Let's just let her out. That's the stupidest fucking thing that I've ever heard in my life.
Well, Spin, this is the problem with it. It's actually very intelligent what they're doing. This is why, guys, I want y'all never to underestimate the enemy. They're doing something very intelligent. They know these are bad policies. This is the same thing that Goebbels pushed, is a radical, a progressive thing. And this is why he was friends with the SA up until the moment he wasn't, which is why they wanted to throw all these different pushes where they were basically like the beer hall push before, then they did a numerous amount of small in order to destabilize the government. They purposely picked fights with communists. They purposely picked fights with Christians and right-wingers. And they had all sorts of battles with the police and all these things in order to destabilize the region, which made people want peace and fucking stability, which led to them turning to the socialists, which is what they do. They create the problem and that themselves so they can be the solution. That's
what is. I mean, okay, we hand everything out, right? We just forget about laws. Where's Clay? we forget about the judicial system because we don't think it's fair. We're going to give pardons to everybody. Oh, you know what? I went out and sold illegal things to people and it unalived them. So guess what? Oh, it's okay. Here's a slap on the wrist. What kind of policy, or what other than people like Effigy and all the other libtards, what is that going to solve? What is that going to say about America? That, let's just come to America. We can do the most heinous crime, and guess what? We got a pardon for it. That's exactly what that slide was saying. Give everything away. Give everything away. Have no consequences for anyone. For anyone. What does that, what, in your opinion, Gibbs, now this is a question, it's probably rhetorical because you and I think the same way. Why the fuck would we just, I don't know what the right word is. Why would we just give everything away, Gibbs? In your opinion, what's the point?
Well,
what's the point of having any budgets? What's the point in having any get rid of the president? That's the other one. Let's see how that fucking works for you. Guess what? Whenever you've got every foreign nation coming over here and taking the fuck over, guess what's going to happen? You're going to be like North Korea. We're going to be like every other dictator fucking bullshit that we could ever fucking imagine. But this is what they want. They want universal health care. Well, you know what hyperinflation is? Guess what'll happen? Hyperinflation. All the taxes are going to go up because of you fucking morons. That's all you fucking people are. Go look at the Talk the Fucking Tick videos. Go suck off people, whatever. Stop your bullshit and live like a normal fucking American should. Shut the fuck up. I'm done. Spurg over.
Also, inflation was a tool that the Nazis used to gain power. So just throw that out there. After the rampant inflation of the Weimar Republic, they still used it as a tool. So interesting.
Yeah, but Gibbs, one more. I'm sorry, Sarah. Can I have just one more minute, please?
I mean, at this point, why not? But
Gibbs,
make it fast.
What do you? This is an honest question. What are your thoughts on universal health care?
Oh, I don't want to pay for it. I mean, I don't want to pay for it, but I've gotten to the point now. Hold on, you ready for this? This is a hot take that maybe we should figure out all this fraud shit. Because, hey, I think all these welfare programs haven't been getting a fair shake because there's been so much fraud that they haven't been working. Maybe if we reevaluate or we try them out for, I don't know, a period of 5 years or something and to see what happens when they're cleaned up, if they work. And then if they don't work, we cut them. I'd be amenable to check it out. But on the surface, I don't want universal health care because I don't want to pay for your grandma, or I don't want to pay for Bob, the fucking stoner that started doing meth and then died. I don't want to pay for that guy. I'm not, if you know what I like to do some blow every now and then, off some kitties every once in a while. You shouldn't have to pay for me if I get in the hospital because I railed some fentanyl. That's ridiculous. That should be on me to pay for it, not y'all. I'm just saying.
Well, the point I'm trying to make is there are people out there, middle class people, that are struggling. We have hyperinflation because of some dumbass left-wing libtard socialist motherfucker. They're going to be bitching even more. Then you got the high, or I don't know what the high class. They're going to be bitching. But you got the ultra rich that aren't even going to fucking care because all they do is sit behind a desk for 10, 15 minutes a day and go and drive their fucking Lamborghinis around all fucking day and Rolls Royces. They don't fucking care. If it cost them, it cost them. But what about the little guy? What the libtards and the fucking DSA and the Democrats aren't thinking about is the people that are working 2 and 3 fucking jobs to just have to fucking survive. It's bullshit, man.
Yeah, man. All right, rant over. Kraut to you, sir. And just for the record, to the chat, you will have to maneuver into one big fat red dono on my screen, or we're not moving forward to the gauntlet. I can tell you that right now. We are already up to almost 3 hours, and it's sad where you are. I'm not going anywhere after this, after Mr. Benjamin has his turn. So somebody better unfuck it, or else we can all just go home. Go ahead, Kraut.
Hey, how you doing, sir? How's my mic? Good.
How you doing? Yep, it's good.
Yeah, man, I believe in socialism, man. High taxes, let the government control who works and who gets stuff for sitting on their lazy ass. Obviously, I'm being sarcastic. No, socialism is a disease, so I don't disagree with Gibbs on that. However, I like to disagree with other conservatives because people accuse us of being an echo chamber. Gibbs, I have to push back on the George Soros thing that you said. Was your claim that he was in cahoots or working with the Nazis?
The claim is, once again, as reported by several different sources, primary and otherwise, the Associated Press has reported us several times. Some they've reported as a hoax, some they've reported. So it's controversial. However, we do have evidence, once again, that the Nazis, during the time period, used the Hitler Youth as well as other youth at that time period to inform on people, and they gave benefits to people that informed. And it's interesting that in occupied Hungary, Soros, who many Jews around him all went down, but somehow he didn't, and somehow he came out smelled like a petunia. Then he suddenly started pushing socialist policies with the money that he's made. This seems like a very interesting coincidence. And so once again, circumstantial evidence and some reporting stating that this may have been a thing. That is what I have stated about Soros.
Right. Yeah. And it was a while since he got brought up, so I just wanted to make sure. I didn't mean for you to repeat yourself. I just wanted to get the claim. So I actually read about it when he got brought it up. So Soros or his father claimed Soros wasn't even his son. It was his grandson. He gave him a fake name, even got fake papers for him. And I think what you're trying to say is the Nazis, a certain person, I forget who he was, he forced certain youths, individuals to hand out papers to like the Jewish community to let them know that all their crap is being confiscated. When Soros's father found out about it, he put a stop to it. And then there was another incident where he had to go with his father for inventory for a Jewish facility. But the Associated Press, you said yourself, there's conflicting evidence. So I wouldn't even bring that up because some say it happened, some say it didn't. However, the Auschwitz, if I'm pronouncing that right, memorial also denies claims that Soros was involved in a positive light. Like he wasn't involved in the Nazis voluntarily. What he did to survive. And the papers he was given out when his father, who he was posing as his godson, he put a stop to that real quick. So there's no concrete evidence.
You would agree that the famous quote that is like, all it takes for good men or evil to succeed is good men to do nothing. You would agree like that the idea that Soros, even his father put it down, Soros at some point did work for these these people that were making him stand on paper. It is strange that other people around him went down while him and his dad, or him specifically when they went to go and review the estate, he somehow escaped like a petunia. Maybe he was a good German. Maybe, but it's also coincident that German made a bunch of money off like that shit. So when I'm sitting here hearing what you're saying, it seems like, once again, I don't have enough proof to convict him in a court of law. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it's very strange that we have documented evidence of people in this age group doing this thing. We have several documents that put him in the area for some of these things. Now, like I said, there's conflicting sources, but during this time period and also after the war, there's a lot of the Germans, their documents got burned and destroyed. So what do we actually know? Some of it's going to be so like, yeah, sure. I'm not saying that we can definitively prove he was doing this, but it is pretty interesting that all this occurs and then all the policies he pushed line up almost 1-to-1 with National Socialist agenda. if he wasn't a Nazi then, maybe he took something from him later.
Right. So I'll say one more point. So you said you have a lot of circumstantial evidence, right, to support what you're saying?
Yeah, that would be what I'm saying. Yeah.
Would circumstantial evidence lead to speculations or proof?
It would probably lead to both. It could lead to both.
No, not really. Not really.
Well, hold on. If say I let's walk through a thought exercise. Say I shot Bob, okay, and my phone happens to be in my truck, and my truck's at Taco Bell, and I shot Bob at La Michoacana, 100 feet away. Okay, now there's nobody sees me shoot him. However, Bob is dead, and there's circumstantial evidence of my phone being in the vicinity. Would you say that could lead potentially to finding other evidence or a conviction, or would that just lead to speculation?
Well, it would lead to other evidence, and it would cause the police to look more into if you were responsible. But speculation evidence in and of itself cannot prove anying.
Would that be used in a court of law?
Speculation evidence alone, no.
No, with the timestamp for the GPS of my phone, if they could try to pursue it, would that be evidence they would use?
Well, there's a lot of things when you talk about law in general. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not smart enough to be one. But like I don't know if this is a good example, what you're doing right now. I'll just say it is. I don't know how to answer that. But you yourself said you had speculation that leads you to your conclusion.
I mean, I don't have any hard evidence that Genghis Khan actually SA'd all these women, but he does.
Yeah, he got like 1,000 children or something like that.
So like I guess they were all consensual then. Like, I mean, I don't have direct evidence that he was out here doing the dirty deed against their will, but I mean, I can speculate and probably be correct. I mean, and this seems like that circumstance where the circumstantial evidence points to a story, and then we see the continuing evidence of the policies he's pushed, and they kind of line up 1-to-1. Would you disagree with that?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, I kind of yielded my time. I just don't think, people should base their argument entirely on speculation claims or I don't even know if that's a word, but I yielded my time.
Speculation.
Speculation. Yeah. I yielded my time. But yeah, capitalism rocks. I'm for capitalism.
Lying motherfucker.
I think Crowd is trying to play the other side for purposes of having a good debate conversation. Jody, go ahead.
Capitalism. It rocks.
You said socialism rocks.
Oh, I did? Oh, no, I meant capitalism.
Yeah. It's okay. All right, go ahead, Jody.
So, first and foremost, thank you, Sarah, for letting me up. Chat, everybody that's watching on all your channels, please dono if you want this dumpster fire to keep burning. Like, subscribe. But I got a problem with Mr. Gibbs. He's spreading bad rumors about my great grandpapa.
Where are we going with this, Jody? Come on. My patience is thin tonight.
Well, I guess for the most part, Goebbels was a bad guy, right? Everybody could agree with that. But he was also a genius. He literally, the Third Reich wouldn't even be a thing without Goebbels.
I agree with that.
And it completely changed the way that war was played ever since. Yeah, I'm not related to him at all. He's a piece of shit. But it's the same thing like Warner von Braun. Without him, what about NASA? You know what I'm saying? He completely fucking changed the way that war was played. Everybody, it's kind of like, I guess,
No, we lost him. Right? Is he still here? Nope. He's buffering, right? It's not just
he's
me.
buffering on my side.
All right, Jody, get some better Wi-Fi, bud. Klansman to you, sir.
Yeah, I want to say hello. And I want to correct the panel and congratulate all my fellow Klansmen and compatriots here. Because we know that after 1865, after that civil war of the northern invasion of the South, we formed the Klan. And at that point was when the Democrats came forth and started talking about this civil rights nonsense, nincompoop information.
But the Democrats
They've been
formed the
coming.
Klan, though.
And then the Democrat, I just
Not
told you.
working, dude.
I just told you. And then they continue on with this homosexual propaganda. And they coming forward. And we expand over there. And them Germans over there, they saw us. And they realized that we got it all figured out over here in the real America. Then they copied us.
He's spitting.
And then after all that, so I just want to say I'm happy to see that the Admiral's on our team.
Oh.
It's good to see other Klansmen like this angry American crowd over here. We got 4 Klansmen here. So I'm glad to see we got great representation on this panel, ma'am. Thank you very much. I yield my time.
Thank you, Klansman. Saint, did you have anything to add in?
First thing I wanted to say was, Sarah, thank you for bringing me back. I want to say that. Thank you for making me a mod again, and I want to say thank you to everybody that welcomed me back. So I want to say thank you. Gibbs, there may not be any concrete evidence that Soros was a sympathizer, but would you agree that his actions after the war and everything would kind of say that he's more agreeable to the left?
I would definitely say that. I mean, like I've said that several times already, in fact.
Yeah. Okay. And then would you say that America, we kind of do have socialist, maybe programs in our government?
Yeah, unfortunately, absolutely. Now, I do want to preface it. I'm not a libertarian. I do want the government to control and involvement in some shit, right? But yeah, we absolutely have gone too far with some things. Yeah, and it's become socialist in many respects.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's all I want to ask.
Yeah.
And, so it's
we have lots of socialist programs.
That's all I want to ask. So.
All right.
All right, Jody, finish your thought.
It's all good. I apologize. I got a really bad connection because I'm on fire everywhere around me. So I don't want to drop again. I apologize.
It's a Soros
I just wanted
Wi-Fi.
I just wanted to troll Gibbs a little bit, make it funny because I watched the whole PowerPoint. And I wanted to say, like, he's absolutely right on so many things that I didn't come up here to debate. I came up here to agree that the DSA is exactly how you presented it. I mean, you did go a little radical in some aspects, but I think everybody hates the DSA. Even the hard left doesn't even like the DSA. So I don't really know why anybody would come up here and debate besides your PowerPoint, which, yeah, I could understand the banking system, why people would want to debate that.
Well, the problem is
the
lefties don't want to debate that the DSA is social is like the same as the Nazis. They want to say the Democratic Socialism. And I posted an interesting status on Twitter the other day. If you go back and if you go read Goebbels' diaries, one of the debates they're having is what they call themselves, how far to go socialist, what that means. And it's interesting that we're seeing Democratic Socialists or Socialist Democrats, and we have the DSA, and we have variations of this thought where they're arguing about what the future is of the Democratic Party. They're talking like, progressive. These are the same kind of debate. Look, it's probably one of my more recent tweets that did very well. But this is something that's very concerning. And the problem is the liberals have for so long They've sat here and argued that this revisionist history, the Nazis aren't socialists, and then they let the people that are the Nazis in the henhouse, and now they're starting to understand what kind of evil they're actually dealing with. And I'm encouraging the liberals to come out on the side of the conservatives for once and fight this evil. Now, if they don't, they're going to fall apart, and it's going to benefit the conservatives either way. Hopefully, the liberals, I'd rather fight the libs, because at least they're capitalist in some degree, as opposed to the full-on evil socialists on the other side. But if they lose, it's still a W for the Republicans. But like I said, it's not as big a W as if we get rid of the socialists and then have to deal with a weaker liberal Democrat Party.
I'm not red or blue. I'm kind of in the middle.
Sure, that was
the way that I see it is the ironic thing is they are calling us the hard right fascists, and then we are calling them, I guess you keep calling them liberals, but they're really just far right. I don't know, whatever the fuck you want to call them. But at the end of the day, why are we all just fighting over the same fucking shit? I mean, this has been going on time and time again, kind of like how you pointed out in your PowerPoint. What's the common denominator? It's a power grab.
I mean,
I apologize. I negate.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, though, a lot of things have changed since the Industrial Revolution. Once the Industrial Revolution occurred, it led to World War I, right? Then we restructured the great powers. That led to World War II, and arguably World War II led to a maybe a third World War or something, but it's leading to the rise of socialism in the United States that we're seeing currently and across the world.
Man.
Yeah. Everybody good? All right. Well, the donations absolutely suck.
Sorry for the lag.
Tonight. That's okay. Your donations sucked absolutely big balls tonight, so no gauntlet for you, ladies and gentlemen. What I will do is I'll give you 15 minutes to unfuck yourselves. 15 minutes. And if you don't, I'm getting the fuck out of here. In the meantime, I'm going to let Ben go ahead with his thoughts, and we'll see what happens. Go ahead, Ben.
My first thought is, hail the All-Father. Thank you, Howard. And my second thought is right along that same lines. Did you literally say that the Odin's Wain, which is what the swastika is derived from, is from India?
No, I said that there are some that talk about it being from Iran.
Well, some people say real dumb shit. Some people think boys are girls.
Well,
I can't help that.
You would agree that Iranians, eventually, arguably, some of them become the Vikings, correct?
That Iranians became, well,
Yeah,
that's debatable. That's something that Omar talks about with the blood types.
Sure.
There's a lot of debate on which direction that went. There's a whole nother group of thought that says that it's derived from Ireland and moved south. And there's quite a few different eras of monolithic things that they can point to in order to say that.
I mean,
nonetheless, the German part of the move with Germany is the German young, especially the young men, were very disempowered, disenfranchised from the system. And so there was a real desire for a resurgence of national pride in their homeland, pride in their culture. And so this was part of what was implemented in the system that was used to drum up the support for them. Now, in saying that, I noticed that all of your comparisons were entirely on the financial functions of things. But when I look at the system that we're seeing today, when I'm overlaying it, I see a lot of those same tropes being used on the right wing. And the right wing being the one that carries those tropes. I also see things like
the transsexual, the agenda, the books that were burned by the party, especially at first, were mostly about that kind of thing. It was a very in all other aspects outside of the financial. And we've got to understand that the financial, after the Treaty of Versailles, Germany was put under horrible restrictions. There's a reason that those young men who the reparations, those young men had nothing. And there's a reason that kind of thing was a selling point for them on the financial side. So I really see a mixing of the two systems in our system, but I can't see where you could just straight point to the left and say that they're just like that, when honestly I would have to overlay components of both, almost like the Clintons, where you're like fiscally Nazi but also socially Nazi. Is that the deal right here?
Well,
the
firstly, in response to the swastika thing, once again, the Indians did use it extensively. The Iranians also used it, and arguably they may be Aryans. And sure, the Nordics
did Hitler try to have a resurgence of the Indian culture in Germany? Or was it?
I would argue, sure, the Indians, the Iranians, and the Nordics all use it, and they all mean fairly similar things across the culture. Which
did they have? Is the SS runes and the Othala
that's all Nordic. I would agree that's all Nordic. I don't know what that
was that all built into that culture? Was Germanic culture that they were trying to bring?
It was
back
I agree with that. Yeah, Germanic culture. It was an idea of the Aryan race. Which a lot of their stuff is similar to the Iranian Aryan and the Nordic Aryans. Yeah, both of those are similar. They did take some of the concepts from India, right? Because India did have that particular concept concepts that Hitler implemented. A lot of those, the cult. There are numerous examples, especially with Himmler, where they takes ideas from Indian mythology and Indian spirituality, as well as Far Eastern mythology. Now, I mean, I don't really know that that's really going to refute anything specific, but yeah, sure. I mean, I'll grant that they're mostly Nordic Aryan white symbols, and they were trying to push the idea of Germanic, or return to a Germanic race. Absolutely. I also did talk about actual policy, and I talked about this in the opening pretty heavily about how it's not just an economic thing. When I say that, say I have a Down syndrome kid, if the government forces me to kill him, is it going to be easier for me financially or not financially if I don't have to take care of this disabled individual? Obviously, it's going to be easier. That's a side benefit that's economic, but that's not their main goal with that policy. Their main goal was to implement
100% the goal with that policy.
No, their policy, you just said it. Their policy was to bring back a more powerful Germanic Aryan race. They believed that anybody that was weaker was not part of this, and thus they wanted to control your life culturally and socially and force you to kill. It had the side benefit
and financially, because that child will
and financially, socially, and all three.
That child will never be productive.
Right, so it covers all three of that through a socialist lens. Yeah, so yeah, I agree.
You seem to fail to notice all the other ways that the social is entirely our right wing, and that lays over one for one socially.
How is any of that? Do you know very many right wingers that want to kill Down syndrome kids for like economic reasons or for political reasons? Is that a right wing take, or is that a leftist authoritarian take like that the communists use?
No, that's just that's an actually a very old take.
But it is a left-wing authoritarian,
especially in countries that were just recently extraordinarily broke. They tend to not be real heavy on wanting to have extra loads put onto their economy. Especially, like I said, you can't underplay the Treaty of Versailles and the fact that they broke the entire German people for the entire duration between World War I and World War II.
Yeah, that absolutely. I'm not bringing that. Absolutely is the whole reason the Germans were able to take power. But just because, hold on, do you disagree with the statement that because I do something politically for a social or a cultural change, there might be effects that happen economically because of that?
No.
So if I wanted to say I think weed smoking is degenerate, and I wanted to ban it just for the degeneracy factor, would there be economic outcomes from that arose from me banning it for religious and cultural reasons or something like that along those lines?
Very, very, very mild ones, not ones that are going to affect the general populace.
Well, that's interesting because Dan Patrick in Texas just eliminated a several billion-dollar industry with getting rid of the hemp and weed farms because he did it for religious and cultural reasons, and it happens to have massive effects, crashing Texas businesses,
all over the state. So I disagree with you vehemently when you say something like that. We can absolutely affect the economy and this is from the right wing right here, talking about how they do something socially and crash something because they economically.
Are you really pretending like fucking crashing smoke shops that are hawking kratom is somehow like some giant effect on the fucking economy? Because that's what you just pretended.
No,
like,
I'm not
to play these board games,
that's
don't play
not what
them
I'm
with
talking
you,
about.
bro.
See, Joe, clearly you don't understand why it's crashing the economy, because hemp is the big gain. The hemp farm bills were destroyed, and hemp by itself, because the byproducts from hemp, not just the weed ones you can buy in the smoke shop, but the things like you can make synthetics out of it, you can make paper out of it, all this other, that being gone is a major
part of the problem.
Right, but
The
no, I'm not talking about
synthetics is
synthetic
part of the
weed. I'm
problem.
talking about the hemp industry as a whole. Yes, that portion of the smoke shops, that's probably several $1 million. That's a drop in the bucket. The industrial uses for hemp being annihilated because the hemp farm bill is gone is a major economic blow to Texas and the economy as a whole. And that is a direct result of the war against the smoke shops. That was a side effect that these hemp industry people that weren't doing the smoke shops people got hit with. Do you disagree with that?
Oh, they definitely, well, whether they intended to have that collateral damage or not, I guess we could argue about that, but definitely they're collateral damage without a doubt.
Right, and you would agree that it's because of a cultural social reason, right? He doesn't like weed. He doesn't like weed smoke. He doesn't like that. Yeah, okay. So if he's eliminated it for that reason, and then these other businesses take a hit financially because they're in associated industry, even if they're not with it like that, that's a financial devastation.
In no way, shape, or form is that gonna affect Texas's overall economy.
I mean, you just removed several $1 billion from the market. Yeah, it's gonna affect it.
The cash
not in a good way.
The cash crop growers are going to grow other cash crops.
What are they going to grow? Are they going to grow coastal? There's no money.
I don't know what your particular cash crop is in Texas. I'm not from Texas. Cash crops are different everywhere.
It was grain, and guess what happened to the grain market? It got crushed by the corn market because corn subsidies in the corn market crashed. Now, and corn is bad for the ground. So guess what? They can't grow the grain. So what do they try to replace it with? Cotton. You know what cotton's also really bad on? The ground. And that takes a long time to sit here and rotate. And so guess what? They switched to hemp, which is not as bad on the ground and much quicker and easier to make a turnaround on. And when you have the cash crop of hemp be totally devastated, you're going to kill all these mom and pop farmers that aren't owned by, I guess it's Bayer Pharmaceuticals now, when Monsanto sold out. So not only did Dan Patrick destroy local mom and pop farmers, he played right into the hands of big tobacco and big alcohol with this policy. And maybe argue that's why he did it, but he argued that he was doing it for religious and conservative reasons. So yeah, I would argue that cultural policy can absolutely destroy economic policy, and this is a product of where the welfare was destroying economics for the purpose of culture as opposed to for the economic reason in that case.
Hold on, did you just cry around about the subsidies, which is what the farm bill really was, and then say the subsidies is what's ruined the grain markets?
Yeah, the subsidies absolutely ruined the grain markets. The farm bill, yeah, it was a subsidy, but the bigger issue with the farm bills was allowed the growing of hemp, but it was outlawed before.
Nonetheless, all of this is just an obfuscation in order to get away from the fact that socially it was entirely right wing. Like I said, including the books that they're burning, the return to national fucking pride, the return to fucking actual family structure, all those social things. While I can agree with you financially that they were doing social, the reasoning behind it, I might not agree with you so much on, but then socially, it's entirely a right wing propaganda. And you're trying to avoid that with this entire spiel that in little trip around the merry-go.
So can I read you something
that you just took?
Would you agree Joseph Stalin is a left-wing communist?
Would I agree? He's I didn't hear you over the
a left-wing communist, maybe the most famous left-wing communist, Joseph Stalin.
Yeah.
Okay, Joseph Stalin, this is his view on families, according to Changing Soviet Family Values, 1920 to 1930s. This is from them. This is what he said about families. Joseph Stalin viewed family as a vital tool for state stability, reversing early Bolshevik experience by promoting traditional family values, outlawing abortion, and rewarding large families to boost Soviet population. So we have the most left-wing dictator in history pushing traditional family values.
Are you pretending like they didn't have a complete collapse of their economy because they lost all their young workers and didn't have to do that? Like they didn't, like, I don't care whether it's right wing or left wing or any wing, like anybody can't figure that the fuck out. It wasn't the party. It was literally,
why didn't they
we
just
don't
make
have
breeding
no
farms?
kids to do the work.
I mean, if they wanted to, they could have just made breeding farms. Instead, he fucking pushed the traditional family value. Why is it that these left-leaning leaders like Stalin push traditional family values? Same with Hitler and Goebbels.
Why would you spend the money to have breeding farms when people will just do it for you? And then they take care of the kids and pay for them and all that.
Having traditional values
that makes zero sense.
Well, no, I mean, you're really proving my point whenever you're saying, oh, this is inherently right-wing, except then the leftist government does it in order to get shit done because it's effective. That doesn't really prove that it's a right-wing take. That proves that anybody can do this, and the lefties will use it. And that's why
I don't disagree that can be a right or left-wing take. You keep trying to fucking here we go down the fucking mulberry bush.
You literally just said this about the traditional right-wing values. I didn't say that.
You keep trying to avoid the overlay that you know's there. So you keep pretending, and then you do this really weird fucking mealy mouth shit where you pretend like you don't see the heart of it, and we go along this little fucking trip for like 10 minutes where you talk a lot. But I do remember the point. I'm making good
points. No, hold on. You just made the point that these values were right wing. That was your point. Then you just turned around and said,
as a whole. So you're trying to take each one and make these little play games, and each play game is different.
No, I'm just
without recognizing that as a whole, you can overlay it.
Sure, but here's my point.
And that's not as a whole the left wing agenda, is it?
But here's the deal. You're using supposition.
Everything
I'm using hard, concrete historical.
We all know
fact.
that. Everything after but don't mean shit.
Well, what? I mean, I'm using hardcore, verifiable fact, historical fact. We know Stalin did this. You admitted yourself, Stalin's a leftist dictator, communist. Why would the leftist dictator, communist implement these values through state control if he didn't think they were effective? That inherently means that these values don't necessarily be right wing.
Because they suffered a fucking collapse through not having kids. It's not because it's a typical fucking left wing fucking value. They kind of learned after a collapse.
How about the idea that they changed in 1936 against divorce? Is that something that's traditionally right wing? Would you agree with that?
They again realized that there was a collapse and decided, oh shit, all these other values, things that were getting pushed, maybe we ought to have them back because we lost our society, we lost our population without it.
I just want to say one last thing. I find it interesting that every time I use historical facts, there's like whataboutism or buts.
I'm actually stating facts also, and you're trying to dance around it and take me around the mulberry bush. I was just tired of going around it. I've had a long day.
Sure, I just agree that these if you're going to use government control to implement these things, that is socialism or communism in Stalin's case. But either way, they're both left-leaning. Tiberius, you're here. Are you done? Were you done, Ballerson?
Yeah, no.
Well, you guys, I'm actually surprised about this. Okay, number one, we got some super chats, I believe, over on Mr. Balderson's side. Stapio says with the Big Ten, you are a soul tomato. Thank you. And Howard sends some love to Ben as well. He says, "Hail Odin!" I fucking love Howard. And Saint says, "Okay, I'm going to do this for Gibbs to take stress off himself." I mean, we don't apply the boots until gauntlet mode, but they sat here. DK Spiracy, you get to have two choices: sing a love song to Clay or get booted for 10 minutes. And yes, this is real. Enjoy. Is DK Spiracy still on here? I think he left anyways. All right, fair enough. Saint, I'll give you back that credit. Darth, I'm giving you the same chance. You can sing a love song to Gibbs or get booted for 10 minutes. This is your choice, one or the other. Choose wisely because I do this to everyone. Haha, enjoy. Now, Darth left as well. So, Saint, you can have those credits back. Stapio with the Big 10 says, thanks, Ben, for introducing me to the tomato panel.
Thanks,
We love you,
Endeavor.
Endeavor.
We love you, brother, and we hope that you and your daughter are doing well. We're all with you.
Aw, yeah, I know. I remember that announcement. Was it last week? That was terrible. And of course, Duck sends a big 20. Sarah, here's your $20 back. Thank you, Duck. Still no kazoo from you. Gibbs, you're still arguing about a country which couldn't afford its own wartime effort and were insane racist. Spook Ben. Seriously? You want to boot Ben?
Crazy.
Crazy. Random Australian backstage. I think you've been here before, but I'm not 100% sure. But if you can just give me a slight wave. Oh, yep, I got you. You're good. You can go back into Avatar if you want.
Interesting fact I just learned about the Judea calling credit for Clay for $100. Judea calling declaring
Did
war.
Duck get a job or something, or inherit money?
I don't
Did you
know.
figure out how to work, Duck? Did you drop your nuts?
He dropped his nuts.
Nice. Very good. Thank you, Duck.
Man, he's a supporter of socialism. He got that money from the government.
Quick fact check, though. I looked up the Judea declares war thing while Ben and I were arguing because I was wondering about that because I didn't remember Judea actually declaring war. This comes from a Daily Express article which used the metaphor Judea declares war to describe an economic and financial boycott. The article itself actually detailed trade boycotts and merchant actions, not military maneuvers. So interesting that turned into
what are we talking about, Judea?
Well, before
that
we
was
get
the
into that,
conspiracy.
if you're watching over on the Raging Tomato, anywhere else, we're gonna shut down that site because Duck, of all fucking people, I'm so shocked right now. I'm kind of curious. Maybe Duck's high or something, but he actually sent a big fucking red dono. So
He
shout out
just
to
sent
that.
another fucking one, Sarah.
He did. So I'm going to be shutting down everything else, and I will raid you over to the Gauntlet. We will kick off over there.
Before you send us over there,
Mhm.
I just want to say to Duck, in all seriousness, like, yeah, bro, you definitely surprise me all the time. This obviously is another one of them. I'm super appreciative. I know Sarah is super appreciative. We're all appreciative. We get to play tonight, obviously. That's really, really cool. Really awesome of you. And then a credit for me, which is really, really awesome, bro. And I'm glad you were able to come up to argue with Gibbs, because that was fun to watch as well. We all clash, bro. So thank you. And yeah, and also I want to say this. Yeah, I'm glad you stood up against the kazoo thing. I'm gonna say that because I did the same thing with the yodeling thing.
And Duck also says, save Ben from my own boot. $40 boot credit for the hostess with the most. So I get to boot whoever the fuck I want. I just booting everybody. I'm going to bed. All right. If you're watching over on the Raging Tomato side, we are raiding you over to the Gauntlet. We will see you over there. If you don't know where you're going, catch the raid. Otherwise, look at on YouTube at the Gauntlet Debate.